And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Alien Spaceship stream. You could be watching from anywhere around the country or the world, and really appreciate every single one of you. Coming to you from the Spaceship Studios from a galaxy far, far away. And we had an interesting trial day. I'll be reacting to some trial scenes from earlier, later on. And it was a nice day with chat. Now what I'm going to do is switch over to the other screen. Going down this way, and going over here. Alright. Hello, it is I, Alien Spaceship. I hope everybody's been having a good day, good weekend. I mean, a good day. We are pretty much at the weekend, but we're not, quite there yet. We have some more hours to go. But it is, nice to see, tell hello everybody. And today with the trials, which was what I was looking at, there is the trial where unfortunately a person threw the baby into the river. That was very evil. And chat, we were talking about different perspectives about who the accomplices could be and just how vile and evil the action is and other things like that. In the Philly murder trial, we saw earlier there was a last testimony that was very interesting. It was very interesting. And I'll be reacting to that later. It was quite wild, according to what chat told me, because I didn't see that part, but I was seeing the trial chats throughout the day before I went in there, just little bits and pieces. I didn't jump in there until later. All right. So as we have people come through, we're going to get into some things right here. Okay. All right. All right, shouts to the spaceship cats. Okay, so now I'll go here. All right. Now, something that we do talk about on the channel, which does have to do with various topics, such as the aliens. Sometimes, lately, we've been focusing more on trial and court cases. So, when we talk about alien stuff, we've talked about different species of alien. We've talked about the different types of beings that could be out there in the universe, and it is like a mystery because a lot of times there's certain cases where there's a UFO mystery that happens, and then people don't really know if it really happened or not. A lot of times they're brushed off as hoaxes. It's very similar to the trial stuff we talk about, where we have to have people come forward and present their case in a court, and sometimes it's a mystery, sometimes people get off the hook. And the way it's orchestrated, way it's conveyed, can also be a factor, and how truths are seen. Now, a lot of times there's whistleblowers, things of that nature. That is when a lot of these truths come out. Same thing with the trial, when you'll see either guilty or not guilty. Sometimes juries will get it right or wrong. We've seen quite a lot of those things in trial chat, friends, in those different situations where somebody we think is guilty, but they come out as not guilty, because sometimes people can be guilty or innocent, but depends how they make it look to convince the jury either one way or another. Alright, so let's get into some different facts, things like that. All right. So recently, in one of the chats, we were talking about bell construction, how like different bells work in the different clocks, and I thought it was quite fascinating. So I'm going to talk about that at the moment. Okay. So bell towers, also known as belfries, are campanils, are tall structures designed to amplify the sound of the bells across the community. While they are most often associated with church bell towers, also exist as secular landmarks on universities, municipal buildings, and other public spaces. History and purpose. The community's sound, dating back to at least 5th century church bells, were first used to summon parishioners to Mass. Over time, they used to expand the broadcast time, signal important events, and warn of danger. Expression of power. In medieval Europe, the presence of an impressive bell tower was a sign of a town's prosperity and importance. Community leaders commissioned grand decorative towers to demonstrate their wealth and power. Civic centers. Medieval cities sometimes stored important documents in their belfries in burgies in Belgium. The belfry housed municipal records and was a symbol of the city's power in the Middle Ages. Famous bell towers. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, Italy, the most famous. I did not know that was a bell tower. In the world is the campanile of Pisa's cathedral. Construction of the tower began in 1173, but it was not completed until almost 200 years later. The tower's famous tilt, which now stands at about 4 degrees, is the result of an inadequate format and soft ground. Elizabeth Tower, Big Ben, London. This iconic clock tower houses the Great Bell, which commonly known as Big Ben, completed in 1859, is the most recognizable landmarks in the world. Belfry of Burgess, Belgium. This medieval bell was constructed around 1240 and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was historically a civic building where the city's important documents were kept. Guido's Campanile, Florence. The Gothic bell tower was completed in 1359 and stands next to Florence Cathedral. Its decorative marble facade and intricate design make it a masterpiece of the Tuscan architecture. How bell towers work. Bells in a tower can operate in several ways, create a distinct sound. Manual ringing. In many cases, the person rings a bell by pulling rope that is attached to it, causing the bell to swing and clapper to strike its side. Change in ringing. In a specialized form, a ringing bells are hung to swing in complete circles. Ringers control the bell's motion to change the order in which they strike, creating complex patterns. Carillon. A carillon is a musical instrument with at least 23 bells, each turned to a different note. The bells are fixed in place, and carillonneur plays them using a keyboard that is connected to hammers that strike the bells. Automatic systems. Some bell towers use computer-controlled or clock mechanisms to ring bells automatically at certain times of the day. Modern systems can also use digital recordings and loudspeakers to reproduce bell sounds. Architecture and construction structure. A traditional bell tower typically has four parts: a solid base, a tall shaft, belfry to house the bells, and a roof. The belfry. The belfry is the room on the top of the tower where bells are located. It often features louvered windows that let the sound out by protecting the bells from the elements. Bell frames. The bells hang from heavy wooden or steel frames designed to withstand the immense forces generated during ringing. Historically, timber frames were used, but these have largely been replaced by more rigid cast iron steel frames. Casting on site. In medieval times, bells were often cast on site in a pit dug in the churchyard. Once the bell was finished, a tower would be built around it, and the bell would be raised directly into its final position. Wooden bell towers. In some parts of Europe, such as Poland and Lithuania, the archaic wooden bell towers still survived, often next to the village and churches. All right, and we continue. Something else that I learned about was the, probably pronouncing it incorrectly, carillon, which is this mechanism with the bells. A carillon is a musical instrument composed of at least 23 cast bronze bells, which are housed in a bell tower and played from a keyboard. Unlike traditional bell ringing, where the bell swings, the carillon's bells remains fixed, and only their internal clampers move. The bells are carefully tuned to produce coordinate harmony when sounded together. How a carillon is played. A carillon is played by a musician called the carillonneur or carillonist. The playing cabin is located in the tower among bells or directly below them. Keyboard. The carillonneur plays a special keyboard, also known as a clavier, that consists of wooden levers called batons. Pedals. The heaviest, lowest pitch bells called bodons, no, bourdons are often connected to a pedal keyboard, allowing the carillonneur to play them with their feet. Mechanical action. The keys and pedals are connected to the bells. Clampers through a series of wires and pulleys. The player can control the volume and expression bell to vary the force of their touch. No no dampers. One unique aspect of the carillon is that once a bell is struck, it continues to ring until its vibrations naturally or deleted die out. The sound cannot be stopped or altered, unlike piano, where a pedal can be released to stop a note. Types of carillons. Not all bell towers use a keyboard played carillon. Some use automated systems. Traditional carillons are a traditional must be played via the mechanical baton keyboard. I've never heard of this. Be recognized by the carillonneur guides. They range in size from minimum of 23 bells as many as 77. Non-traditional carillons. These instruments must be electrified by computerized with the sound produced by digital recordings such as metal bars or automatic clock mechanisms. Chimes. Bell towers with fewer than 23 bells are referred to as chimes, which have a more limited musical range than a carillon. It originated from the Low Countries, modern day Belgium and Netherlands. The 17th century evolved from the earlier systems used to announce the time and play simple clock chimes. The Heomini brothers and Jacob Ayek are credited with the perfecting the art tuning bells to create the first harmonically tuned carillons in the mid 17th century. A sign of prestige. In medieval Renaissance Europe, a carillon was a symbol of a city's wealth and prestige. Greatest concentration of these is still found in Belgium and Netherlands, although their art has spread worldwide. Recognized architecture, historical importance has designated 56 belfries in Belgium and France World Heritage Site. Get an example of what this looks like. All right, so these bell systems, some examples of it. Right here. So very intriguing instrument. Very fascinating bells. Okay. And that's a computer that does it. Yeah, that looks like a very vintage looking computer. Definitely. And that plays these tunes. It's interesting, and it has Intel. Riverside Church, New York City, home of the world's. Oh, hello, Moki. Great to see you. Welcome to the stream. Home to the world's heaviest carillon with 74 bells and the largest Borden bell. I hope you had a nice day, Moki, with your day of fun. It was nice seeing you chat earlier, and I'll be reacting to that scene and that trial in a moment. At the Book Tower Gardens Lake Wales in Florida historic sites features a singing tower with 60 bells set with a Gothic revival and Art Deco style building. Oh, did I ask Jamie not to come here? No, no, I never did. The Oh, hello, Joyce. Great to see you. Now, Joyce. I mean, not Joyce. With Jamie, she. You're right. Right. And yes, a couple of people have subscribed today. And no, I never told Jamie not to come here. She's always welcomed to come. She, I don't think she's a big fan of the political conversations that happen sometimes. But she is always welcomed here. And earlier today, before I left the chat, before we are done for the day, she told me to have a good stream. So that was nice of her. So I never told her not to come here. Not the Bay. It's not the Bay River trial. It's the other one, the the family murder trial. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to react to that now, and also I started. And Joyce said she said that someone told her to leave the other chat. Yeah, okay, Moki, understood. Yes. And oh, Jamie's very cool, and uh, yeah, yeah, and she's always welcomed here. And we don't really talk about politics all the time anyway. It just happens sometimes. But yeah, I would, if she wanted to come here, I'd really appreciate her company. But she told me to have a good stream, and yeah, so yeah, shout out to Jamie in chat. I get along with Jamie perfectly fine. Uh, she's cool people. Yeah, always ask me questions. I don't mind. It's okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to start that now because Moki wants to see my reaction to it. And I started a little bit earlier. We may have some people coming in a little bit later on because that's when I usually would start these streams. I used to start them a little bit earlier than I start it later, so I don't know. We may have some people coming in a little bit. But they definitely were saying that they want to come and see the stream. And a couple of the people did come here after you told them to subscribe to me. So thank you, Moki, very much earlier for bringing them here. And there are lurkers too. Shout out to the lurkers. Yeah, what's up, Moki? You, what's up? Okay, Moki, understood. Now, what I was, and for some reason, we could always do it another day if we didn't do it tonight, but certainly we'll do it when more people come. Yes. I was talking about, as me and Robert Hedro were talking about bells in the other chat, and so I was kind of like talking about that as we had people come in. Oh, let's play a game. Yes. All right. And we could certainly do that. The pirate game. While we have people come through. Now, if there's some other things that there were in mind by playing a game, I don't mind that. Dude, just wait 15 minutes. Okay. We'll wait 15 minutes. I'm scared. Yeah, so the bells that we're referring to were... Yeah, Rombahedral and I were talking about these bells and the Carleons. Oh, you have links too? I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, so the Carleon, probably pronounced that wrong. That is something that Rombahedral's uncle has, which we were talking, Joyce, we were, and I were talking to him about it in the other chat. So I like bells, and in the Netherlands, in those parts of the country, in parts of the world, they have perfected their skills in bells. Liesel, the new trial will be Liesel, Dale Boifo. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So the accordion is a musical instrument composed of at least 23 cast bronze bells, which are housed in a bell tower and played from a keyboard, unlike traditional bell ringing where bells swing and carillons bells remain fixed. Oh, hello, Glow. Hello, Glow. Great to see you. Welcome. And only their internal clampers above the bells are carefully tuned to produce coordinate harmony when sounded together. And this new trial that Moki's discussing, let's talk. I'm going to give a review, talk about that. All right. All right, this new trial, I'm going to do an overview about this new trial that she's speaking of. All right, so Liesel, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, is a former Marion County, Florida sheriff's deputy who was charged with manslaughter in September 24 for the fate of shooting off his 25-year-old GF, Polina. Right. Loki says CTV is going to stream it, so I'm guessing LC will be picking it up too. Yeah, I know, right? Leesley. Thank you, Mookie. The incident shooting occurred on September 19, 24 at Leesley's home in Ocala. According to his account, he and Wright had been drinking margaritas before deciding to clean his firearms. Boilo claims to accidentally shoot Wright in the forehead with an AR-15 style pistol. He was dry firing. Well, that's really not the best idea at her. No, I'm just going to les like eggs. Les. Okay. Hopefully I'm saying it right now. Scared. Les. Okay. Police. So I would highly recommend people to not point firearms at people and pull the trigger. An unloaded gun is a loaded gun. All right. Shout out to Mary Toodles. Police response after the shooting. Boilo. Well, hello, Liberty. It's great to see you. Welcome to the chat. And this is a new trial that is going on now. And it is. I'll give you an explanation. So Jeffrey Spence, 67, is accused of deleting killing his daughter's boyfriend, Kirby Carpenter, in 22. Authorities found that Carpenter's deleted dead from a gunshot wound outside Mississippi home he shared with Spencer's daughter, Caitlin. Jeffrey Spence, his wife, Karen Spence, 65, and Caitlin Spence were all arrested for the deletion death of Carpenter. Caitlin pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact in April, and just before the trial was supposed to begin, her mother, Karen, pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact of the grand larceny. Both are expected to testify against Jeffrey in the trial. Jeffrey is charged with capital murder and 2 counts of grand larceny and conspiracy. Alright, so that is a little overview about the trial. You're welcome, Liberty.
What are we talking about?
So there was a trial that was on earlier that it was a crazy testimony, and I'll be reacting to it shortly. And Liberty wanted to know about the trial that we're speaking of.
What are the topics you have
Okay, we're talking about. I'm reacting to the scenes from today from one of the trials that we're watching,
Okay.
and I put urban legends, but I was talking about bells.
Okay. We can talk about urban legends.
Yeah, I know. I know. Hello, this Justin. Great to see you. Welcome to the chat. He came from the Law and Crime earlier. Thank you for being here. All right, so the shooting occurred in September 1924 at Bailu's home in Ocala. According to his account, he and Wright had been drinking margaritas before deciding to clean his firearms. Hello, Lowly. Great to see you. Welcome. Firearms claims to accidentally shoot Wright in the forehead with an AR style pistol. He was dry firing at her and loaded magazine. Well, welcome from Nashville, Tennessee. I like Nashville, Tennessee. There's lots of great museums and rock and roll stuff there. It's a really cool place. Welcome to the chat. Lowly, great. Welcome to the chat, Lowly. It was it was nice to see you here. Well, he said, "Hi, Loki. I just got to be good behavior. It's nothing but mom's in here. Scared." Police response after the shooting. Okay, so dismissal and arrest. Okay. B was fired from Marion County Sheriff's Office, where he had served for 8 years immediately after the incident. A month later, he was arrested and charged with manslaughter. Victim's background. His background. So immediately at the incident, month later, he was arrested and charged with manslaughter. There's nothing but moms in here. Yeah, that's quite true. And shout out to Aliens Angels. Okay, Moki, understood. Okay. All right, Joyce says, I will need to purchase a case. Where can they be purchased? They can be purchased in the aisle of Timu, Walmart, and the spicy section, where all the others have purchased things for their schemes. Scared. Glow said he excused himself to change his man pun earlier. I asked if it was a butt plug. All right, community reaction. The incident led to a strong reactions in law enforcement community and among local residents. And Marion County Sheriff's Billy Woods said in a statement that he and his office were heartbroken for the family and friends of the victim. Since September's my boss just texted me and said I forgot to clock out. Oops. Scared. Uh-oh, Joyce. She did. That's quite the amazing timing. Hello. All right. Since Les on September 24 arrested, his legal case has progressed through court with key ramifications including his firing from sheriff's department and bail conditions. Court proceedings are continuing in 25. B was immediately terminated from the Maroon County Sheriff's Office, where he had worked as deputy for 8 years following the fatal shooting of Polinia Wright. And Liberty, I'll be reacting to the scenes from that trial shortly, as I said. And this is going over one of the other ones that are going to be coming up. And I want to say shout out to all of you. I appreciate every single one of you here. Thank you. All right. Bail and court proceedings. At a bail hearing in late September 24, prosecutors expressed concern about community safety despite B's lack of criminal record. A judge set bond to $30,000. B's attorney, who described shooting as tragic accident. That is a good question. That is a question. Just yeah, it could be magic, or it could be a couple of different ways that it could happen. Well, thank you, Just. I appreciated that. At a bail hearing in late September 24, prosecutors expressed concerns about community safety despite Bill's lack of criminal record. A judge set his bond to $30,000. B attorney, who described the shooting as tragic accident, requested 25 grand bond, arguing his client was not a flight risk. As a condition of the bond, B is forbidden from possessing any weapons and from having contact with Wright's family. His agreement was scheduled for late October 24. In September 25, Court TV announced it will be covering B's upcoming trial, stating that he is charged with manslaughter and deletion of Polina Wright. Potential legal penalties. If convicted of manslaughter, B could face prison time and additional legal consequences. Florida's status defined manslaughter as a second-degree felony punishable by up to 15 years in prison, of probation, and up to 5 years, 10 grand based on general Florida law. Given his precious state of law, the enforcement officer legal public scrutiny of his case is particularly intense. All right. And when will this trial start? I'm scared. According to Court TV, the trial for Lesdale B began on September 26, 25. The network is providing live coverage of the proceedings. The trial comes almost exactly 1 year after B, a former Florida deputy, was charged with manslaughter for the fatal shooting of his GF. So does it say when it starts? Alright, it doesn't really show when it will start. Now, with this trial coming up, the possible inclinations of it is, what are the implications? As of September 25, the trial for Les has begun. Possible outcomes include conviction and acquittal or a hung jury, each district of implications. Conviction of manslaughter. To secure conviction, the prosecution must prove beyond reasonable doubt. Well, I'm glad that you located your feline. It can be tedious sometimes because cats, our feline friends, like to hide in all kinds of places. I think cats sometimes can be interdimensional. They could go to different places and realms, and they can just vanish out of plain sight. So, yeah, shout out to the felines. They get lost sometimes. All right, sentencing. Florida manslaughter, second degree felony. Okay, you read that. 8 a.m. Eastern Florida. Okay, thank you. Sentencing. In Florida, manslaughter is a second-degree felony that carries a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison and a fine up to 10 grand. Aggravating factors such as the use of a firearm could potentially lead to harsher sentence. Legal appeals. If convicted, B could appeal the decision based on alleged legal errors during trial, loss of rights. A felony conviction would result in the my joke was that Brandon my joke was that the chat Brandon threw your cat into the river. Oh, scared. Well, yeah, everyone hit the like button. Thank you, Moki. Thank you. And oh, okay, Moki, scared. Okay. And oh, thank you for messaging Aaron. And shout out to Aaron. She was here yesterday for two parts. She and when we were watching the depth part at the end, and we were watching the other part. And Moki, I want to thank you so much for what you've done and doing for the spaceship and what you're doing in the different chats. I really like what you do. In legal appeals, if convicted, B could appeal the decision based on alleged legal errors during the trial, loss of rights. Felony conviction would result in permanent loss of civil rights such as the right to possess firearms. Finality of the victim's family, a group of verdict, would often sense a legal closure of Polina Wright's family, affirming that the justice system held and B's accountable for her death. Oh. Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, okay. It will. That will be certainly when I watch this testimony. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Y'all be taking shots. When I say scared, a legal resolution, acquittal provided. Okay, Liberty, understood. Definitively legal resolution and Fifth Amendment and double jeopardy clause would prevent B from being retired for the same charge, potential civil suit, an acquittal, and a crime trial. Could not sue B for the wrongful deletion death, as civil cases have a lower burden of proof. Public perception, despite for wrong death in civil cases of lower burden of proof. Moki said, chat, Brandon was talking about baby in the river, and then this Justin says his cat was missing, so I wanted to say Brandon threw the cat in the river, but it was just too bad of a taste. Oh. Okay. Public perception. Despite being legally cleared, public opinion and media attention may continue to affect B's life. No criminal record. An acquittal would mean no criminal record for the offense of potentially allowing the sealing of expungement of records in a future hung jury. The implications of hung jury decision to retry prosecution would need to decide whether to retry the case. With new jury, the decision is often based on the likelihood of securing conviction in second trial. Additional stress. The cost a retrial would cause additional emotional and fictional strain on both defendants and victims' families. Negotiations or dismissal. The prosecution could decide not to retry the case or could offer a plea bargain to resolve the matter. About the victims' families, leave it to Moki. Alright, the factors influence the outcome. The The jury decision will likely depend on how weighing in evidence presented against B's claim. Moki, we're about to do it. That shooting was tragic accident, a key focus to be whether his actions engaged in alcohol-fueled gun training session, loaded firearms, constituted culpable negligence under Florida law. All right. Okay, let's go here. Hello, Liberty. Great to see you. We're talking about Spence. The testimony isn't very long. Okay. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to be reacting to the Spence case.
I thought we were ready. We're not ready. Okay, y'all get ready. All right, Hood State College is next to witness.
It was all word of mouth, wanted to kind of, make himself the general contractor, if you will, of the project. Well, you have a full-time job, Gio has a full-time job, I'll help out in this way. The problem that we ran into was paperwork. It was all word of mouth, so.
Can you tell the jury who you are?
I'm Carolyn Aguayo, Jeff Spence's daughter.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you where you live, and there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. Can you tell the jury why you don't want to tell the world where you live?
I've come here to help stop what has been going on for decades, but I have requested that where I live, how many children I have, any of that is not mentioned. I have moved several times. Sorry, I've got a little allergy stuff going on. I've moved several times. Once you leave a criminal family, you watch your back all the time. You move if you need to move. You protect in whatever way you need to protect. No social media, things like that. You are guarded. Once you realize that you've done something wrong to the family, you've betrayed the family, you have not been loyal the way you've been raised, you're...
I want to enter an objection to whatever it is that this witness is referring to. There's nothing that has been ever substantiated about what she said. Nothing.
I would ask that you reply to...
It's narrative.
Don't give a narrative. Reply to questions and answers so that we can have time to get okay?
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Was it always that way?
No, not at all.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brookfield, Pennsylvania, a little farm outside of Brookfield, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And who is your father?
Jeff Spence,
Who is your mother?
Karen Spence.
And do you have any siblings?
I have one older sister, Caitlin Spence.
Okay. Now, I believe y'all are fairly close in age. Is that
Yes,
correct?
we're a year apart. She's 1 year older than me.
If I'm remembering correctly, Caitlin was born in 86, or was that,
Yes, Caitlin was born in 86,
and you were born?
the next year.
Okay. Now, normal childhood, soccer, school. Where'd you go to college?
I mean, normal childhood might be a little off, but I mean, as far as I've been in, dealing with this sort of thing even since I was growing up. As far as game commissions that had to come to our house.
Sorry. I didn't hear that. Please.
I wouldn't exactly describe my childhood as a normal childhood. Having game commissioners come to the house, having my dad cited for bad business practices.
I'm going to sustain you.
Yes, please. Everything that's coming out of this young woman's mouth is it's trash, Judge. Nothing substantiated. It's all just trash.
I'm sustaining you.
Where did you go to college?
Grove City College in Pennsylvania.
And did you finish college?
I did. I double majored in early childhood and elementary education.
All right. After you got your degree, did you get a job in that field?
I did. I've taught for several years.
Okay. Where was that?
So after I graduated college, I went to New Zealand for a short period of time just to see how they did early childhood there. My professors always raved about the early childhood programs there, so I did a little time in New Zealand, but then when I came back, I moved right away to North Carolina. I didn't want to be any part of...
Do you object to relevance of what goes on in New Zealand that have anything to do with this case?
It's just background.
I'm going to let that go. Go ahead.
All right. So you moved to North Carolina.
I moved to North Carolina. I didn't want to be in Pennsylvania. Didn't want to be near any of it.
Understood. Where in North Carolina did you move?
I moved to, I first went down to Wilmington, North Carolina, and then I got a job a little further south, so it's a little area called Oak Island. So I taught in a school there near Oak Island.
All right. Are you married?
Yes,
When did you get married?
2014.
And who did you marry?
Giovanni Awayo.
When did you marry Giovanni Aguayo?
June of 2014.
Did y'all live on Oak Island, North Carolina together?
Yes.
And what did he do? At that time, what was he doing, employment-wise?
I was just talking yesterday about this, of those islands in North Carolina. Yeah, weekend project. Yes. Yeah, and yeah, watching this, I'm getting a little bit scared. And I know it's going to get even more intense. All right, continuing.
At that time, he was a Marine.
Marine? Now then, did Jeff and Karen, your mother and father, move in with y'all?
Yes, so we got married in June 2014. My parents had talked about wanting to move, with us settling down, and they moved in with us in about August of 2014. They were going to look for a place down there.
All right, so they moved in with you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a conversation with Giovanni about that decision for them to move in with y'all?
object to that conversation, Judge.
I'm not asking for the conversation. I'm just asking if they had a conversation.
I'll allow that.
Yes, Gio has a very big heart.
Don't tell me what he said. Did y'all have a conversation about your mother and father moving in with y'all, being newly married?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
They were going through bankruptcy, so we felt like we could help them out.
Right. Okay. So your father was going through bankruptcy, having money problems, and y'all wanted to help him out. Is that correct?
He had to file for bankruptcy. He had a case with Jim Riddle where he had embezzled $100,000 from his business partner.
We object to anything that's coming from this witness.
I'll sustain that objection and ask the jury to disregard anything that they heard about that anyway.
Okay. Don't add to the question.
Okay, sorry.
Ask the question. Answer the question that's asked, and stop there.
All right. So, if I understand correctly, you've testified that you wanted your mother and father to move in because they were having financial trouble in August of 2014.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how long did they stay with y'all?
They ended up staying 2 years.
All right. And during that period of time, did yourself and your husband help them get on their feet financially?
Yes, they weren't paying rent. We had given them one of our cars and the insurance on the cars. We did groceries. We were trying to help them get back on their feet, trying to help them recover and kind of have a fresh start. And again, we were just trying to help them.
Was your mother ever employed during that
Moki, scared. You're going to ignore the court's directions. Scared.
period of time?
No.
Okay. Did your father ever have any meaningful employment during that period of time?
He did not have a job. He had started or tried to start a vegetable farm with a gentleman down there.
All right. So he tried to start a vegetable farm.
Yes.
And did he talk to anybody about investing in that?
He had an investor that invested $20,000 in starting it.
Okay. Do you know anything about whether that investor was able to realize any kind of return on that investment?
He had
Hold
to
on,
take
before
it.
you answer, I think there will be an objection.
Same objection we had before. Talking about something we have no substantiation
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. Don't talk about the investor
Okay.
anymore, pursuant to the ruling of the court. All right. Now, at some point, did yourself and Gio decide to move to Virginia?
Yes. Gio got a job in Virginia.
All right. Was it with the Marines?
No, he'd gotten out of the Marines.
Okay. You can tell the jury what his new employment, new career was going to be.
Okay. He was going to be working for the federal government in a very similar capacity for what he had did with the Marines, but he was going to be on the civil side now. He served his years in the Marines, and now he had the opportunity to do security policing with the federal government.
All right. So, did you buy property and a home in Virginia?
When we first moved there, we rented, but then we did buy a cabin in Virginia.
Okay. Where in Virginia?
Orange, Virginia,
Okay.
Charlottesville area.
All right. And is that the property that y'all bought? Is that where you and Giovanni were planning to build a cabin kit for your mother and father?
So, as you can imagine, we lived with them for a while. Everybody was kind of ready for their own space. But again, we wanted to make sure they were on good footing. And we offered to, we had 10 acres with the cabin, so we offered to separate off a little land and do like a simple, like less than $100,000 cabin type kit, kind of a little mother-in-law suite type thing, with just having them have their own house though, but just down the lane. The idea was Grandma and Grandpa would be down the lane.
Who's going to pay for that kit?
Well, with them being in bankruptcy, we were gonna, the agreement was that we would get the loan, but they would have to make the mortgage payments.
Judge, and ask you to instruct the jury to stop, Mr. Williams, stop talking about bankruptcy. There's nothing in this case about bankruptcy. There's been no substantiation.
I'll hear from the state.
Your Honor, I think it's already been established that he was in bankruptcy as the reason that he moved in with Jeff and Gio.
I think the defendant's financial situation was relevant in this case anyway. I'm going to allow it.
There's been no substantiation of any bankruptcy ever of this man, except what's just now come out of this witness's mouth.
You can look on the federal PACER system.
I think that this is a daughter. I think she has knowledge of it. I'm going to allow the testimony.
Okay, so we were talking about the yourself and your husband putting the money up for the kit to build a mother-in-law, father-in-law house on your property. With that loan from the bank, certain requirements about construction, were there building codes that had to be followed, things of that nature?
Yes, so in the build you have to do one step at a time. You have to do it correctly. Everything's got to be insured. All the contractors have to be okayed. Everything has to be a certain way for you to get the next amount of money from the loan to be released. So if you do the first step wrong, like you're already in trouble as far as being able to finish the house.
To be able to go to the next phase and prove that everything was done by code.
Correct.
All right. Did your father interfere with that?
Yes. So he wanted to kind of, make himself the general contractor, if you will, of the project. Well, you have a full-time job. Gio has a full-time job. I'll help out in this way. The problem that we ran into was paperwork.
So far, listening to her, OMG, I work building codes and safety. Nice. And Joyce, that's very funny, hilarious. She certainly seems like she's gonna be like the Karen type. I get to see it, the way she's like looking. It's in her face. Like the intenseness is in her face. Like without knowing much about the rest of the clip, yeah, I could definitely see things heating up.
It was all word of mouth, well, so-and-so didn't call me back, or I got this bid, and we said, well, where's the bid? There was nothing on paper, and that wasn't going to be working because we had to turn everything into the bank again in order to move on with the next step. So there started to be arguments.
Mookie said you were saying that in chat. Shout out the chat. Joyce said she got angry and hurt. They took advantage of her, and somewhat of a gentle Karen, if you will. Yes, just. That was a interesting way to put it. Okay. And I don't know much about this, but she seems bitter against her parents. In my opinion, I get that impression too. And shoot, I would be super Karen if this happened to me. Oh yeah, I don't blame y'all. I don't blame y'all for feeling that way. And certainly. But certainly I can see the tension like building up like a volcano. I guess we all would being put in a situation like that. And certainly, I think that it's very, very intriguing already. Okay, here we go.
Where we're like, hey, we've been clear, like, somebody has to write us up. If we're going to get a well driller, we have to have a contract. We have to have his license number and know that he's insured, and we have to have all of that in order to turn that in to the bank, and then they okay it, that we can move forward with digging a well for the house. So that was the sort of thing that started where we started arguing over things, and we're getting upset at each other because Gio and I were trying to go by the book, and he was trying to just, well, this will work. This guy's been in the town for 30 years, and he's done this before.
All right, and let's just put a pause on that line of questioning for right now. Can you tell the jury, when y'all were home, did y'all watch TV together? With
Yeah,
your
we,
mother and father?
initially, again, we didn't know that, other things were going on. We thought we were doing the right thing. We thought we were helping. We would watch a lot of movies together.
What kind of TV programs did your father enjoy watching?
We watched things like Breaking Bad, Blacklist. We watched.
Soon to be relevant.
Okay. So we would watch a lot of movies, and that Jeff always likes to dialogue. So one of the things, initially that kind of perked me up to like, this is odd. We were watching a movie, and he said, oh, well, if I was ever going to have to kill someone, I'd use a shotgun, and that's because you wouldn't have to worry about the casing.
Who said that?
My dad.
Okay.
Scared. Vanderpump Rules. Right on. All right, so he's just right, and he's just sitting there writing. Rumor has it he's still writing in the courtroom right now. Okay, so she is, just talking about what happened, and then there's this awkwardness occurs, and bro is just writing his memoir. Okay.
Jeff Spence.
Your father?
My dad.
Jeff Spence, my dad. Movie script, yeah, movie script. All right.
Now, when families sit down and
Yeah, her look, she does not want to be there. I don't blame her. And she's doing good keeping calm and keeping her cool, but she just wants to just, be super Karen. Oh, look, it's Aaron. Hiya, Aaron. Good to see you. FTSY, fantastic to see you. All right, here we go.
watch TV shows together.
And they have to start it all over again. Oh, God. Oh, look at that. Y'all could see that in her eyes. Noah said completely nothing against her. But I like that look. It's like if she looks like she has like some snake eyes and she's a snake about to strike. I could see that. Yeah, that's a meme right there. Definitely is a meme right there. And I think that it was extremely, really hilarious with that, and I like that look. Yeah, I could definitely see it there. Oh yeah, Dookie time. Oh yeah, Aaron. Yeah, and I'm watching it firsthand, and we're all watching it together firsthand. And here we go as we continue watching this on the stand. Yeah. Yeah, shop every time I say that, and we're just getting started. I am the queen of FRB. Facts, Joyce. Facts.
Do they normally take notes about what's going on?
No, I mean,
Did your father do that?
so normally people would just watch a show like that for entertainment, but Jeff learns from them.
I'm sorry.
Jeff learns from them.
How do you know that? do you
Because
have?
he discusses everything. Like even with himself, he'll have long conversations. He'll practice things. That's something I even saw in my childhood. You know, he'd have an argument with a business partner, and he'd be pacing the floor that night. And
And relaying it to some program?
Again, with something like Breaking Bad, like most people would watch that and be terrified. Like, that's not normal life for most people. That's not something like, oh, hey, that was a good idea.
When he said that about using a shotgun, did he say anything about the projectile or the shell casing?
Yeah, the whole idea with a shotgun is it's harder to trace.
No, specifically, did he say anything about the shotgun shells? Do you recall?
Yes, a shotgun shell is huge. I'm sure most of you know that. You're not going to be looking around for little bullet casings, and that's if you have to shoot more than once. And that was his comment is, well, if you only have to shoot someone once, the casing doesn't even come out. Now, if you end up having to shoot again, then, at least you're looking for something that big.
Also, a shotgun is red or green or blue, by the way. Shotgun shells.
Okay. Now then, in general, the condition of the property that you had on the curtilage or the yard, around the driveway, that area, I'm not talking about the house or the cabin, talking about the land. How much land did you have?
It was 10 acres, almost entirely wooded.
Okay.
We were back in the woods, and
Did you have a gate around that property?
we had a gate that went into our backyard and back into the woods behind our house.
Okay. Now, did tensions arise between yourself and your father about how he used that yard, that property?
Yeah, so as we were building, as I mentioned, some arguments started about doing things the right way. Jeff has always tried to make money off of little things, like, oh, come pick up this tractor, I'm just trying to get rid of it. And then, so he'd bring that to the land, and then he'd try and sell that. So we started having people coming onto our land, like looking for Jeff, and all the while we're trying to build a house. We didn't want anyone in a construction zone where somebody could get hurt. Then all of a sudden we're getting sued because somebody got hurt that never should have been on the property in the first place. So these are the things that we started worrying about as a young couple, that, hey, we're not protected. I'm a teacher, he's a police officer. We're not full of cash. If somebody gets hurt, we're in trouble. So those arguments kept happening. And one particular discussion, I was pregnant at the time, so I had gone into the house to use the bathroom, and I came back out came to the window, and I saw that Gio and Jeff were having having an argument. They were both talking loud, and I saw Jeff step to Gio, and I could see in his eyes, like, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And he stepped back, so he thought better of it. That.
Relevance, Judge, relevance. We're talking about an argument from 19 or 20.
Well, this is where my husband was
Hold on one
threatened.
second. Let them finish.
So,
Hold on one second.
Let's, we've got much of a rambling, testimony, that needs to be more.
Specific, non-narrative.
It's hard.
Scared. Rambling. Lord. She's rambling. She had enough. Oh God.
It's hard to me to, it's hard to me to referee a wrestling match when we don't know just try to get specific questions and specific answers.
All right.
I understand.
And if I understand your testimony correctly, you've got a loan for $100,000 or around $100,000 for this cabin kit, correct?
It turned into $178,000
Okay.
by the time Jeff was done.
And that was being put in jeopardy by Jeff not following the code, cutting corners, and that kind of thing?
Right. The ball was already rolling. There was no way of stopping it at that point. We were in it.
Just in the way we're going to do it, I'm going to ask you a question, yes or no, and then if I need you to explain, I'll ask.
Okay.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
All right. So, in addition to that, did your dad he just acquired junk?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Can you briefly tell the jury about that?
It's part of not wanting to work. It's a laziness. You're trying to make money off of nothing.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll sustain the objection.
All right.
Move on.
I'll move on.
okay.
Did that interest that your father have result in a bunch of junk in your yard?
Yes, we had to clean, we had to remove tons. I think it ended up being 3 tons of junk off of our property to clean it off after we got him out.
Okay. Now then, was there a conversation that you, your husband, and your father had where all of this came to a head?
Yes,
And where was that conversation? Where did it take place and when?
McDonald's, he didn't want my mom present.
Okay. What did you explain to your dad about the situation, and what was his response?
We tried another sit down where we said, look, we have to do this a certain way. We have to go by the book. Otherwise, all of this is going to get messed up. There's no reason to not have a contract on someone.
Okay, so all of these things came to his attention directly by you and Gio. What was his response?
He was angry. He said, well, I guess I can't do it your way. And we kept trying to reiterate, it's not our way, it's the bank's way. We're not trying to be stubborn. There's codes when you build. It's not codes we came up with. Everybody has to build. Even if you put a porch on your house, you have to do it by code.
And at this time, were they living in the house with you?
At this time, they had a basement apartment under a family on the lake, Lake Louisa.
And then, as a result of this confrontation at McDonald's, did you come to any realization with Gio about your father not being who you thought he was?
I saw an anger and a violence in his eyes I had never seen before. In the way he was speaking to Gio, and I saw how angry he was, and that was when he said, I'm done, I'm out. Basically, this mess is yours.
And after that, did y'all install video surveillance around your property?
Yes, we put up cameras. At that point, there was too much animosity. There was too much that was being done behind our backs that at that point we weren't feeling safe.
Did you put up video surveillance around your property?
They didn't feel safe. They felt scared.
Yes, cameras.
Okay. After that, was your video surveillance system ever altered or adjusted in any way by anybody other than yourself and your husband?
Yes, the camera cord to our security camera was cut.
How did you know how your camera system was cut and who cut it?
We were in the house. Jeff had been told to get all his stuff off the property because we were done. So he was going into our garage, which is back behind our house. He was going into the garage to get his stuff. He noticed the camera, went behind our shed, cut the camera, and of course we knew he cut the camera because we're in the house, and the camera feed to one of the cameras goes out.
So you saw it with your own eyes, your father cutting the camera feed?
He was behind a shed.
Yeah.
So he walks behind the shed, the camera feed goes out, Gio goes out to check it, it's been cut.
All right. Now, in and around this time, tell the jury what time frame this is.
This is August of 2018.
Okay. Now, in and around this time, did you have a conversation with your father about life insurance on your husband?
He had, in one of his arguments with Gio, he had told Gio, Karen and I want to pay for $1 million life insurance policy for you. And of course, Gio thought that was odd. He has a job, he has life insurance. So he shared that with me, and I told Gio, I was like, I don't understand what's the thought process before that. He said, well, they mentioned the baby, you know, you have our firstborn, our son was gonna be born in November, and he said, but it was odd. It was during one of our conversations about the house. Like there was no, like my mom wasn't there, I wasn't there. Like, you know, if this was something that was really about the grandbaby, why was this coming up?
And this was during all the tensions.
It never came up until the fighting started.
Now, was there a conversation about a meal ticket? What was that about?
So a meal ticket.
You're messing up my meal ticket.
So with
and if you know,
yeah, I'm not recalling a meal ticket
Okay.
comment.
Was he upset that they weren't allowed to get $1 million policy on Gio's life?
He just seemed flustered. Like you know, anytime we didn't agree with him, it was just, oh well, you all are stupid. You know, so of course he was upset about it. We weren't agreeing with him.
All right. Did you ever take any action because your father was trespassing on your property?
When he cut the camera cord, we called the sheriffs, because at that point I had tried to reason with him. Gio had tried to reason with him. Trust me, we wanted the family relationship to be good. I had tried until I was blue in the face. And at that point I was like, I don't know what else to do other than to get the police involved.
And did you ever find any personal property of you and your husband Gio missing after the security camera was cut?
Yes, so we had, again, you know, as I mentioned with this house build, Gio and I are careful about paperwork. And we you know, when we moved into the cabin, the logs, if you're familiar with log cabins, they have to be stained. So we got bids for someone to treat the wood to preserve it for the cabin. And we got these bids, and again, this was a typical thing of my dad's to do. So he said, "Oh, hey, like if they're going to charge, you know, $30,000 for this, I'll do it for 10." You know, so we're like, "Well, this is the big project. This is going to be a lot of work. Are you sure?" So we just wrote up a little.
Yeah, Joyce said, "I'm not sure." Scared to think what really happened, in my opinion. Yeah, you know, the unknown. Like, we don't know exactly what occurred, and it definitely would leave the mind to speculate all kinds of things. So I assume the mom and daughter are blaming him. They're in jail too, right? And if I recall correctly, they both got off, and they're blaming him. But Shaq can correct that if that was an incorrect statement.
Legal note on a legal pad.
Let me stop you there. Did he ever take, or are you aware of any time that your father had taken any property from you or your husband during that period of time?
That paper went missing.
Okay.
But also things like my husband's tools. Like again, Gio in the Marines, police officer, very orderly.
Okay,
Knows-
that's good. No narrative.
Okay.
Mr. Bio can't tie something to Jeff's fence. Just because something comes missing or they misplace it or whatever, doesn't mean that he has done anything wrong.
Unless you can tie it to Mr. Spence, let's move on to that. And yours will.
Finding it in.
Your will disregard that last comment unless you can tie it to something.
After,
I'm sorry. Did you instruct the jury?
I instruct the jury to disregard that last comment.
after the cutting of the surveillance system around your property and calling the sheriff, did you ever have to call the sheriff again?
A couple days later, he came back on the property, and again, this was on our security camera. He pulls a knife out of his pocket, cuts we put a zip tie on the latch and the gate, so just as extra security. So yes, that was cut, and so we called the police again, because at that point, the sheriff that came 2 days
Let me
prior,
stop you there. Who cut it?
Jeff, Spence.
And entered your property
Yes,
after having been told not to come back on your property?
correct.
And how did you know that he cut the strip?
It's on camera.
You had it on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Now then, do you recall the last time that that you, and I may be wrong about this, but there was a time when they were leaving in the car and you were trying to talk to your mother? That's not testimony, that's background.
I'm gonna see where it goes. Hang on.
Do you recall that situation?
He would call.
Yes or no? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm really referring to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to tell the jury, was your mother a part of, did she know what was going on, and how did you know that?
Yes, my mom has always been aware of what's going on, and she has been a driver for him. She was a driver for him when they poisoned the water troughs of a deer farm.
Hold on. No narrative.
Okay, she is always aware.
Okay. Now, you talked about your dad buying and selling junk, for lack of a better word. At times, would he go outside or across state lines during that period of time?
Yes, all the time. Big drives were a thing for him, and my mom would keep a cell phone.
I have an objection. Unless
question as to lay a foundation as to her knowledge.
Do you know
Scared.
why? How did you know that your father would cross state lines?
One particular time he went to Georgia.
Do you know?
Yes, I know he would cross state lines.
All right.
Yes.
And would he take certain precautions when he did that?
Yeah,
He would.
All right, let's let him have a basis of knowledge. Let's let a basis of knowledge first.
thank you, Judge.
Do you know whether he took any precautions when he did that?
He would.
Back up a step before that. That's the basic knowledge that he was leaving the state.
He was around us all the time. He was living with us for 2 years.
Did he ever say where he had been
All the time.
and where he got property?
Yes, because if we went a day without seeing him, that was weird.
And did you ever ask him where he got certain property that made its
Yes,
way on
and
your
so
land?
he'd say, "Oh, I made a run to Georgia,
Okay.
or I went to South Carolina yesterday."
Now, were you aware of any precautions that he took in order to go to Georgia to buy property to bring back and put in your yard?
He'd leave his cell phone with my mom.
Okay.
How would she know that? Objection.
He told me.
Objection.
Lay a foundation, be basis of knowledge.
How do you know that he would leave his cell phone with your mother?
Through his own mouth, he would tell me.
Now, back to that. Do you recall the incident with your mother leaving in the car that we were
Yes.
talking about earlier?
Yes.
All right. When was that?
It was shortly after all this was happening where he had called her to come pick him up.
Okay. Did she come pick him up?
She came. Are you referring to when? So she came to pick him up the first time he was arrested.
I'm talking about the last time you ever saw him.
Judge, I need to.
Well, this is definitely awkward. Her testimony. She seems like they keep on trying to correct how she's doing it. I just take a blanket and pillow to the bathroom, and don't act like you have never done that before. Scared. Okay, that deer farm thing was big deal. I think that he stole a buck or something that was worth a lot of money. Thanks, Moki, for your insight. Yeah, I mean, he's still writing. Oh my god. Chat. He's still writing. I knew it. Good grief. Lord. Alright, he's writing his script.
Your mother came to pick you. I want to clear something up with you. We were talking about two different things. Your mother came to pick him up after you had called the sheriff's department out there because he had trespassed. Is that correct? Do you remember that event?
He had called. He had.
Just yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And when you said when you had him arrested, you're talking about that misdemeanor trespass on your property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's clear. Was there a time where you tried to talk to your mother about these things?
Yes.
And what was her response?
Objection. Dr. Hearsay.
It's not.
I don't want to quote from it. Just general attitude. For
Yes. What did she do when you were attempting to try to get her attention?
I walked out to her car because she wasn't getting out of her car, and I said, "Mom, we need to have a conversation about what's happening." And she would not get out of her car. She was talking to me through the window, and she was...
Don't say anything that she said.
Okay.
What did she do?
She got a call from Jeff, and then she peeled out.
Okay. Was that the last meaningful contact you've had with your mother?
She has continued to text, now not in the past couple of years, but she would continue to send texts because we were able to get a no contact on Jeff, but not on her. So I would get little things from her, like heard y'all were in Texas, heard y'all had a baby girl, little plugs to let us know that, hey.
After that last contact with your mother, when y'all were actually in the same place there in Virginia, did you and your family move somewhere else?
Yes. So with what happened with the house, once we were able to finish it, we put it up for sale. It wasn't selling. We ended up having to sell our own home because, again, we couldn't make 2 mortgage payments.
Understood. Did y'all
So
move from that location?
we had to move.
What was the primary reason for you moving?
We moved initially because we had to sell our home, but then we were able to get jobs elsewhere so we could get away from it all.
Okay. Now, court's indulgence.
When you and your husband moved to Oak Island, North Carolina, Jeff and Karen lived elsewhere. That's a yes or no?
Yes.
They still lived on the farm in Pennsylvania.
In February of 2014, they got a beach rental in the town where we lived.
Now, you're not answering my question. When you and your husband moved to Oak Island, your mother and father still lived on the farm in Pennsylvania.
That's not correct.
Why is it not correct?
Because they moved to Oak Island. They rented an apartment in February
I
2014.
understand they moved to Oak Island. I'm getting there. But when you moved to Oak Island, they didn't live there on Oak Island.
And I hadn't married my husband at that point either, sir. When I moved to Oak Island and I bought a house in Oak Island, Gio wasn't even in the picture yet.
You were single. When you
That's
moved
correct.
to Oak Island, you were single.
That's correct.
And after you moved to Oak Island,
Scared.
let me back up. When you moved to Oak Island, your parents still lived in Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
And when they moved to Oak Island, you weren't married.
That's correct.
And when they moved to Oak Island, it's because you invited them to come.
I didn't stop them from coming.
Well-
I would definitely not phrase it as I invited them to pick up their 30-year life on a farm in Pennsylvania and move to North Carolina.
You not only invited them, ma'am, they lived with you.
My husband wanted to help them, and I didn't want to be.
You weren't married. You just got through telling us when you moved to Oak Island, you were living alone. You were single.
When they moved in with us, we were married at that point.
Okay, so you moved. You asked your parents to move to Oak Island, and your husband agreed.
That's incorrect.
I'm sorry.
That's incorrect, sir.
your husband did not okay them moving in with him?
They moved in with us in August of 2014. I married my husband in June of 2014. My parents rented a place on Oak Island in February of 2014.
All right, so they moved there and were paying their own rent.
For a couple months, yes, sir, to the beach apartment. When they moved in with us, they didn't pay rent.
My point
That
is,
was the point.
Okay, all right. So your parents moved to Oak Island and rented their own place.
For a couple months. It was a month-to-month beach rental. This was not a place they could rent long-term.
You have more knowledge about your
Feisty indeed.
parents' business than any person I think I have ever heard of.
Wouldn't you
realize-
if they lived
Let
with
me
you?
finish.
I grew up with them, so my early life was with them, and then as an adult, they lived with me for 2 years.
At your
and-
request.
At my husband's generous offer, sir.
At your request.
It wasn't my request, I've said that.
It was your husband's generous offer.
Correct.
And you are telling us that you didn't agree?
I agreed.
Or are you just letting your husband run the household?
No, sir. If you knew me, you'd know that wasn't the case.
Actually, Gio has a reputation for being very difficult, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't, sir.
Very demanding.
He's had a lot of honorable positions over the years, and we wouldn't be here if he wasn't an honorable man.
After your husband's generous offer, Karen,
Ooh, that was spicy. That was spicy. Yeah, Aaron, alien all the scareds. Yes. My husband watches that show. I don't care for it. Oh, okay, understood. Yeah. It's like, ooh, yeah. Moki is MIA. Scared. Oh, Lord. This is going to be interesting. All right, here we go.
and Jeff Spence lived with you, you said, for 2 years.
Correct.
And then you and Gio got jobs in Virginia.
Correct.
And when you moved, Jeff and Karen were still in Oak Island.
Jeff moved to Virginia before Karen because he,
You didn't listen to my question.
I'm listening, sir.
When you and Gio moved to Virginia, Jeff and Karen still lived on Oak Island. Yes or no?
yes,
Okay. And they continued to live on Oak Island for a good while.
that's wrong.
Wrong in what way?
About a month after we moved to Virginia, Jeff showed up at the door, said, "Hey kids, I got a job here. Is it okay if I stay here?" So my mom continued to live on Oak Island.
For how
My
long?
dad very quickly moved back.
Hey, 666, good to see you. Aaron said maybe she took them immediately blacked out. Someone check on her. Yeah. She's testifying against her father, Jeff. Yes, solid girl. She's testifying against her father, Jeff. Yes, Carol, of course. Of course. Because it's like, he thinks that she's pushed over McMichael, but that's not true.
back in with us in Virginia
For how
for a few months before we could sell the house.
So your parents stayed, or your parents and then your mother stayed on Oak Island in the house that you were trying to sell.
My mom stayed in the house that we eventually sold.
Until Jeff showed up at your front door in Orange, Virginia, he was in Oak Island as well, right?
For about a month.
That's what I said, okay? And they were helping you out by paying your mortgage payment in the house that you were trying to sell.
So they didn't.
You didn't listen to my question.
Oh, I thought you wanted an answer.
I didn't want want you to answer it. And basically, it's a yes or no answer, and then you can explain. When you and Gio moved to Virginia, your parents stayed in your house in Oak Island and made your mortgage payment. Yes or no?
No.
So you were making a mortgage payment in Oak Island and you were making a rent payment in Virginia?
Correct. And as I stated, again, Jeff was not staying in Oak Island. He was there for a month. My mom continued to stay. The last couple months, I believe it was 2 or 3 months before we sold the house, we asked for help with the mortgage payment because, again, now we had 2 mortgages again. And she was staying at the beach house. She wanted to stay at the beach house until it was sold. We said, can you guys chip in a little bit for the mortgage payment? They did not pay the whole mortgage. And again, we're talking about 2 or 3 months before it sold.
They made payments on your mortgage.
That's the only time we had to ask for help for them. And we were, again, that was in the middle of a move, career transitions. Jeff is already living with us in Virginia. And my mom is there so she can walk the dog on the beach and live in peace.
And how long before Jeff and Karen got the rental apartment in the basement on the lake in the gated community?
They moved, they got that around, we had moved into our cabin. We got our cabin in the summer of 2016. And they initially lived for a little while with us in that cabin, and then they found the apartment on the lake. So again, with the math, they lived with us, whether they lived in the rental with us, and they lived with us in the Oak Island house, and they lived with us in the Orange, Virginia cabin. It was 2 years before they moved to the lake.
And that's not the cabin that you were building, that was the cabin that was already built.
That was the cabin we bought for our family. Gio and I bought for our family. And again, we welcomed them into that home until we then said, hey, let's get you your own space.
So the cabin that was being built in stages was for Jeff and Karen.
Correct.
It wasn't for you and Gio.
It wasn't.
Okay. And you're being separated from your mother and father for what, 8 years, 7, 8 years, right?
About 7 years.
Originated with disputes over this cabin that Jeff and Karen were going to be living in.
Correct.
And Jeff and Karen were going to be paying for.
Yes, they were going to be making the mortgage payments. We had made that agreement.
That's not rocket science. It's a yes or no. They were going to be
Yes, then, sir.
They were going to be making mortgage payments.
Yes.
So it was a piece of property that was being developed in their interest. Yes?
In my parents' interest, yes, I'd say so.
Yes. And the falling out that you have had originated with that piece of property, that project, that cabin, that Jeff calls it a modular home. I don't know what a modular home is, but apparently it's a home that's built in stages. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was going to be theirs, not yours, theirs. Yes?
It was going to be in our name because we were the ones getting the loan for it. So.
But it was going to be theirs in terms of where they would occupy private space.
They were going to live there.
That's what I just said. Occupy private space, live there, right?
Can you repeat that last part?
It was going to be their place, their private place, their home. It was going to be for them.
They were going to live there, yes.
And in the meantime, while this was being developed, Jeff and Karen didn't live in the cabin with you. They lived on a lake in a basement apartment they had found on their own. You had nothing to do with that.
That's correct.
And the falling out that has apparently caused so much, I don't know what to call it, that you feel so upset about, started over that modular home.
That was when we started to see his business side.
Well, your dad's business side, he gets things done.
I would call it con artistry, sir.
You would call it what?
Con artistry?
Your daddy would get things done, such as a well dug.
Yeah, whether it was the correct way or not.
Well, you don't know if it wasn't the correct way. Your dad got the well.
Sir, I grew up with that man. I know if it was the correct way or not.
You didn't have anything to do with getting the well done. He did that.
What he did, sir, was we had no contract in place. While Gio and I were both working a full-time job, something he's not familiar with, he had a well driller put the rig into our land with no contract, no insurance in place. I come home, and yes, sir, I was upset when I got home that day because I had a well being dug on my property, and I don't know if this guy was going to charge $2,000. I don't know if this guy was going to charge $200,000. There was no contract in place. There was just a man digging a hole in the property.
An experienced well digger who dug wells all over that neighborhood.
He didn't even have a location, sir. You couldn't even look him up. You couldn't find his license. You couldn't get him on the phone.
So it's the fact that the well got dug is beside the point to you.
That is something that still bothers me because the family that ended up moving into that home had to have a whole nother well dug.
Okay.
So another young family became a victim because it wasn't done right.
Have you been keeping a diary on all this over the years?
Do you remember things about your family, sir?
Scared. Roast. Oh.
Over the years?
Do you remember things about your family, sir?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I asked you.
This has changed my life, sir.
And you.
The victims that have come out of the woodwork, even living in Virginia, 2 ladies were glaring at me in Walmart, and I found out it was the 2 ladies that he was working for as a contractor on their home, and he had messed up their entire house. He had to be let go from that job, and they had to hire a whole nother contractor. So now I'm getting hate stares in Walmart in my hometown, and I don't even know why. So this is personal to me, sir, because it has affected my life, and it has affected my husband's life and our children's
lives. It's very
lives.
personal to you, Ms. Aguayo, obviously, and I am absolutely overwhelmed by the detail that you can draw from years ago, as if you have been keeping a running check on your.
You're not experienced with people that have relatively good memories, sir?
Ooh.
When you and Gio were first moved to Virginia, your mama came after your daddy came, and y'all were all in agreement. You didn't say no, did you?
We didn't know they were doing anything wrong. Again, they had gone through bankruptcy. We thought we were trying to help. Who doesn't want to help their parents who are going through?
I believe this ground has been plowed thoroughly. Ask and answer about why they moved in. About 15 questions about it.
I just want a yes or a no.
Ask your question anyway.
Your father moved in with you in Orange, Virginia, followed by your mother a couple of months later. And you could say no, couldn't you?
I'm sorry, sir, but I think you want a yes or no answer, but that's not phrased in the way to give you a yes or no.
Well, you didn't. You didn't say no, Miss Aguayo.
They had permission to live with us. I mean, they weren't breaking into our home every night.
Thank you. They had permission. That's all I want you to say is you could say no and you didn't say
Objection,
no.
Your Honor. That is argument.
Oh, scared. Oh, good grief. I couldn't control that one.
Question, move on.
And the animosity that you have exhibited since you got into this room this morning all stems from the building of that modular home and disagreements over that.
No, sir. My uncomfortableness with having to be in this courtroom is because that man over there is not even handcuffed. And you don't know what it's like to move almost every year of your life and still get text messages from Karen, your mother, saying, "Hey, how's Texas?" Or "How's that new baby granddaughter?" I would not communicate back with her. It's not like I was communicating back. She was letting me know, we know where you are. We know
she
your
wasn't.
kids.
How do you know your mother wasn't just expressing genuine affection for you?
Because if she had genuine affection for me, sir, she would have stopped this years ago. She would have stopped this years ago. She would have said, enough is enough. If I can't change that man, I'm going to leave that man. But she's part of it. So how are you going to leave someone when you're their partner? You're their Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay. Bonnie and Clyde, your mama's Bonnie?
They would joke about it.
Oh, come on.
She would bring him contraband when he was out on work release. Like, that's not Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah, Judge, let me approach. I need
Ooh. Ooh, that was intense. I know I can't force a wife going by what I thought state said was coming out, but I can be wrong. All trial were like, what's going on here? There's something else in here. I got a little bit scared. So, yeah, that was a scary moment indeed. All right, let's see what else.
Disregard the last statement made by the witness.
You and Gio, even though the house that was being built, the modular cabin that was being built was...
She looking at him like a death stare. Aaron said I'm drowning the angels. Well, that is... It seems to be indeed a liquidy situation in the spaceship, doesn't it? Okay. And poor Joyce is going to sleep on the couch. All right. So 666 says, yeah, it really seems prejudicial. That's why they usually don't call spouse similar to Allison. And it says, this girl not ants him in jail. She's scared for her husband and herself and the kids. I think she has reasons to be scared. Oh no, saying scared again. Oh Lord. Yeah, right on. Yeah. And Dad looks real bad today after testimony. Nano autocorrect. Ah, okay. Alright, everybody, we're into... There'll be about 20 minutes left of this testimony, it seems. About nearly 30 minutes left. So God be with us in this. Okay, here we go. Alright.
For your parents, you and Gio wanted to control everything. Isn't that so?
If you had a $178,000 loan in your name, would you want some control?
I ask you a question that's yes or no. You and Gio wanted to control everything, yes or no?
No.
Well, that's what the falling out was about, right?
No.
That's what the meeting at McDonald's was all about, right?
Nope.
And your father looked at you and said, your husband can be difficult himself, can he?
I would not agree with that, sir.
Pardon me?
I would not agree with that, sir.
All right. Well, on the day that you were going to meet at McDonald's, where you did meet at McDonald's, and this all came to a head, Gio was demanding that it take place on his couch in his basement apartment, not McDonald's.
We wanted Karen to be a part of the conversation.
And Gio went to your mother and father's apartment and broke into the apartment and sat on the couch himself and demanded that Karen call Jeff and come and sit on that couch because Gio said so.
That's a lie.
That's a question. And you can answer it yes or no.
He did not? That's a no?
I think that was a lie is a no. I think that qualifies as a no.
And your mother was home in bed. You do acknowledge that your mother has serious health issues, right?
I acknowledge she has self-diagnosed health issues when it's convenient for her. She rallies real quick when she's needed by Dad.
You're accusing your mother of being a hypochondriac?
Growing up with that woman, I know that I would disagree with her calling herself ill. We'll put it that way. I know you want me to keep it short. That woman's not ill.
You don't think that your mother's migraine headaches are real?
People have headaches, sir.
Migraine headaches.
Yes, migraine headaches. People have migraine headaches.
I didn't ask you if people had migraine headaches. Ms. Aguayo, I ask you if you disagree that your mother is a migraine sufferer.
She would have migraine headaches, yes.
And have you ever had a migraine?
She was not in bed that day. When Gio knocked on the door, she was sitting on the couch.
Really? Were you seeing from afar? How do you know?
I communicate with my husband, sir. I think most people do.
How do you
Now,
know?
I was, as mentioned, I was very pregnant with my son. So I didn't, because they wouldn't even, I didn't walk back into where they lived. My husband did. I'm calling my mom on the phone saying, Mom, you need to know what's going on. This affects your life too.
Let's get that down pat. You didn't walk in. Your husband did. Your husband went from the gate on the gated community through the woods, around the fence.
Oh no, so this is a gated community. There's no woods he's walking through. This is a paved road. He's walking down a road. He's knocking on a door where a family lives above them, by the way. We're not breaking into a home. We're knocking on a door, seeing a lady sitting on a couch that's supposed to be in bed with a migraine. And she's not picking up her phone when her daughter's calling her.
You weren't with him.
That's correct, sir. As I mentioned, I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant at that time. I'm not schlepping back 2 miles into a gated community because my mom can't be bothered to open the gate. Because she doesn't want to see the next mess that he's made.
Ooh, she roasting good. She's cooking. She's cooking.
Your husband walked 2 miles into a gated community where he was not invited, he was not permitted, he didn't live there, he bypassed the gate, and he walked 2 miles because he said so. That's where the meeting was supposed to take place because Gio said so.
If you can't get in touch with someone on the phone, particularly your mother-in-law, do you think that maybe...
Bro is argumentative. Okay, bro is argumentative. Hilarious. All right.
You might want to go check on her and see why she's not picking up her phone.
No, not if you,
Wow.
your mother is quite capable of making a phone call if she needs help.
I thought you just said she was very ill, sir.
Your mother is very ill.
But she doesn't need checked on?
All right, Judge. When's the last time you actually had a civil conversation with mom or dad?
December of 2018, I tried to have a conversation with my mom. My son was about a month at that point. They had missed all the initial baby things, and of course, with Jeff, we had a no contact order. But with my mom, I said, "Can you fix this? Can you do something so that we can be a family?"
Well,
And that didn't go well. Being a grandmother was not as important to her as continuing with Jeff, and I'll be careful how I phrase it.
So you didn't want to have anything to do with your mother because she loved her husband and saw him.
Absolutely not, sir.
Let me finish.
Ooh.
And saw her husband as her life partner, and you wanted to rule. You and Gio always want to rule the roost, don't you?
No, sir, that's very incorrect. Who would invite someone into their home if they wanted to rule the roost? Like that's not, those aren't the kind of hearts that like, I gotta be in control of everything and I gotta be in charge. Like, you don't let people into your little circle of control if you wanna rule a roost. None of what you're saying makes sense.
Well, it was your home.
Your Honor.
Y'all had a fight over a modular home that you.
Objection.
Hang on a second, you got an objection?
Yes, sir. It's asked and answered. We've plowed this ground many, many
As I
times.
said earlier, let's move on.
I think I can ask you this question safely. You don't have respect for your mother, do you?
That's incorrect, sir.
You don't.
I love my parents. I love my sister. I love my family that have, like my family in Pennsylvania that I don't talk to anymore. I love them all. The love doesn't change. But getting my children and my husband out of danger's way, out of harm's way, that is more important to me than being able to pick up the phone and say, "Oh, Mama, you'll never guess what the baby did today."
So
It's either that or I continue to put my husband and leave him with a target on his back after he's been threatened. I won't do that, sir. I love my husband. And that's it. So I will give up a phone call with my mama.
a target
So-
on your husband's back? Who put the target on your husband's back?
Jeff,
In what way?
he has offered to put $1 million life insurance policy on him. We had a recording device in our garage where he says, after we've called the sheriff, he says, look up along that walkway, you'll see a dead man walking. I'm coming for you, son. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into."
Jeez. All right.
It's all recorded.
Well, I've never heard it, okay?
It wasn't allowed.
You don't have any respect and love for your father either, do you?
Love? Yes. After understanding what he has done over the years and seeing what he's done, respect? No.
Let me ask you this. You have children, I've heard you refer to, yes? You have children, yes?
Yes.
Small children.
Your Honor,
I'm not comfortable
objection.
talking about my kids in front.
respect to $100,000 or $1 million life insurance on your husband, do you, Ms. Aguayo, not think it's reasonable and responsible for a parent like David Hill to insure myself for my children's benefit in the event that something happens to me?
Absolutely.
Yes or no? I don't want to lecture. I want you to tell these folks whether or not you think it's reasonable.
Objection.
Just answer yes or no. You'll have
Yes.
You can explain your answer if you like.
You think it's
Yes, I upped my life insurance policy to attend here today, sir, because I want my kids taken care of.
Well, that's a responsible parent, isn't it?
Yes, and as I mentioned, both of us had life insurance at that time. We were not going to be leaving our baby son with nothing should something happen to us. We both already had life insurance. The curious part is why they felt at that need when we started arguing to up his life insurance policy.
Well, you know, Ms. Aguayo, would it surprise you to know that I'm a grandparent and I have given the same advice to all three of my children?
Have you offered to pay for it, sir, in the middle of an
Objection,
argument?
Your Honor. Objection. I don't think that was a question.
She had a response.
Can you rephrase it in the form of a
I
question?
think you can respond.
I ask it in a question form, Judge.
You can respond. You can say yes or no and then explain your answer.
I think the issue, Ms. Aguayo, concerning life insurance is not who pays for it, but who the beneficiary is. Would you agree?
If you feel like you're going to be able to convince your daughter that this was all an accident and then you do benefit because you move back into the cabin with your new grandbaby, then I'd say you are benefiting if that's your end term goal, sir. Get him out of the picture. This now becomes my house.
One final question, Ms. Aguayo. When you bought the house, your house, on Oak Island, where you invited your parents to come stay, when you bought it, Jeff Spence gave you a $10,000 down payment, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Jeff and Karen gave you a $10,000 down payment.
No, they didn't.
That's all I have, Judge.
How long do you think we're ready for
Very, very short.
this? All right, let's go and have it then.
You were talking about family in Pennsylvania. Who is Doug Spence?
My dad's younger brother.
Okay. Now, do you have as far as the relationship with Jeff and you and Gio, we get the picture. And I believe, but are you aware of how Jeff would communicate with Doug?
He has helped him with counsel over the years. A lot of times they use code to talk about things in our family. So like,
What do you mean by that, code?
well, when you don't want, if you,
Yeah, Moki, thank you so much for showing this to us. This was fantastic. This is fantastic. Oh, understood, Sod Girl. Facts. Yeah, shout out to Moki. Great.
if you're outside and you don't want someone to overhear you, you just say, oh, well, sure do remember that time we were, fishing with Dad in his favorite fishing hole, and remember that tree he used to sit at all the time? conversation that appears to be about a memory is not about a memory.
It's about something else.
It's letting the brother know.
Your Honor, this is not proper redirect.
I'm through, Your Honor.
All right, I'll agree. All right. Can this witness be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you're finally excused. You can welcome to stay. You're free to go, whichever one you like to do, okay? All right, let's take about a 10 or 15 minute break. Y'all get ready. Let us know. Y'all come here.
That certainly... Yeah, good night, so that certainly was incredible. And a couple of times, I got scared. So, that was the scared drinking game. And in addition to that, we had the other parts with reacting to her as she lost her patience because of the incident that occurred with her, being asked those questions that were triggering. So, Moki, thank you so much. This was amazing. I was glad that I got to react to this. And then Moki says, nothing really interesting after that. Motion dismissed. Both sides rested. Today I was up and I was seeing little parts of this trial, but I did not see this part, or at least not in an entirety. It could have been for a second, but I didn't see like this. So I'm glad that we discussed it today. And I'm not sure I have seen anything so entertaining for a long time. Oh, okay. Now, Joyce says, I made a Philly cheesesteak pizza today. Oh, Joyce, that is delicious. Shout out to you, Carafil. Always appreciate you here with us, buddy. And, yeah, I think it is absolutely extremely hilarious and entertaining. This will certainly be this, just like how I watch scenes from the Depp trial consistently. That we will add this to our trial watching fun when we watch streams, and G certainly will enjoy this whenever we see her at some point. And yeah, I really like the way she handled herself, even if like Carville was saying about how it could be a mistrial, possibly that could be brought up. I will just say that from another point of view, thank you, Careful, for your perspective on it. It was essential for her to defend herself, and I think she did quite well. With, she, as I said, she could have been a very good lawyer. The drinking game is over. I mean, it could be. It could not be. The part of the drinking game where we have the trial section, that was the first round. It depends up to those that want to still play. Yeah. So that was the part of the trial where the drinking game, the scared drinking game for the night. Yes. The River Baby trial is going tomorrow, but I saw everyone saying that no one was streaming it. Yes, Moki, no one is streaming it tomorrow. Now, with the... Yeah, so that was the... what you would call the Deadly Family Plot Scared Drinking Game. Yeah, I love it when we do those. So... Oh, yes, understood, Joyce. And I'm glad that y'all had fun doing the drinking game. That was good participation in it. All right. Okay. So, looking over this way. Yeah, maybe we could find a local feed. Yes. Yes. Well, I will be certainly be saying scared throughout the stream. And those that want to do that, take a shot, they can. But the main part of the drinking game was over with the trial part, where we were reacting to the trial. So it's not mandatory. So it's only for those that would want to still participate in that, but they don't have to. To just make that as an explanation. River baby feed is still open. Oh, what? Let's see. Chat. Chat. This is crazy. Okay. Interesting. So, yeah, it's still open as I see right here. Yeah, Kathy Roos. Yeah, Kathy said that. That's true. Yeah. Now, long crime fell asleep. Yeah, maybe they fell asleep. Yeah. Yeah, so there we go. The long crime chat is still open. That's insane. All right. All right, so that will certainly be a trial that we will continue to react to over time. Anna said, Jeff in $1 million life ends offer and defense not being able to deny it looks bad. Okay, understood. Yeah, and Jeff in $1 million life and said offer defense is not being able to deny it looks bad. All right. So now what we're going to do is, so we reacted to that, and going to go here, looking at the title to see you got everything right here, up. That I was going to talk about. Okay, and Moki says they really don't have much evidence against him. I don't trust the other daughter, but I believe he's a criminal and could have done it. Christine says Danielle streams open today. He deleted his GF and burned a body. Nana said, "Why didn't the state ask what she thought about Curry's murder?" And she talked about Caitlin about it after. Doesn't she talk to Caitlin now? In the other chat, I didn't see anybody there. Right. And speaking about the. I'm going to talk about some urban legends that this thing has projected. And now we will be talking about that. Let's see, Christine. See, a judge said not to stream it. Yeah, hello, Tom. Good to see you. Urban legends that turn out to be real. The body under the bed. The story of hotel guests discovering a deleted body stashed in a room has been confirmed multiple times. In 2010, guests at a Memphis motel discovered they had been sleeping above the corpse of a missing person. Scared. Cropsey, the boogeyman legend on Staten Island would involve a deleter with a hook hand was grounded in a true story in 1980s, and Andre Rand was convicted of a child abduction and was suspected of having concentration to multiple child disappearances in the prior decade. Leaping Lawyer, the Canadian legend of a lawyer who would run smash into the office window, prove his strength strategically, came in just 1993 when a senior partner named Gary Hoy crashed through a window on the December 24th floor and fell to his deletion death. Charlie No Face. The legend of a faceless man hunting a residential street in Pennsylvania was based on a real person. Ray Robinson was disfigured in an electrical accident as a child and would take walks at night to avoid alarming people. He passed away in 1985. The corpse decoration. Notorious outlaw Elmer McCruddy's embalmed corpse was used as a sideshow attraction in carnivals for years after his deletion death in 1911. The mummy was eventually hung in a funhouse mistaken for a prop, and its true identity was only discovered in 1976 when a crew member from the first TV show The $6 Million Man was filming and accidentally broke off the arm. And if you're talking about Miranda, we have not seen her tonight. Alright, so there's the Black Ambulance, Eastern Europe. The legend in the 1980s in Czechoslovakia and Romania describes a mysterious, unmarked black ambulance with tinted windows that would abduct people off the streets. Some believe it was a manifestation of the era's social unrest. Miami Wata, West Africa. A water spirit. A mermaid disguised as a beautiful lady who destroys men. The story is cautionary tale against being charmed by a malevolent figure. Micah Karap in Singapore. Known as Cracker Lady, Mikey Karap sells prawn crackers, but refusing to buy from her may result in the haunting by Point Enoch, a vampire ghost. Abu Rajal Masulka, Egypt, a frightening figure with a burnt leg who is said to torment the unruly children who misbehave. That reminds me of Krampus. Interesting. The Looked Hand, Western cultures. A variation of classic deletion killer in the house. Story: a girl's home alone is confronted by her dog licking her hand from under her bed. In the end, she discovers her deleted dog and realizes a human has been licking her hand. Poltergeist in a Bottle, Gaff, the Talking Mongoose, a well-documented case from 1930s involving a family on the Isle of Man who claimed to be haunted by talking mongoose that could sing songs, steal items, and torment neighbors. Got to run. I have company coming soon. Thanks for the laughs, and have a nice weekend, everyone. Oh, yes, Carol. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. Creature based in myths. Goat Man in Maryland. This half man, half goat creature is said to wield an axe and terrify people in Maryland. Some versions claim he was a scientist who mixed human and ghost DNA. Skunk ape. These are certain creatures. Similar to Bigfoot legend, skunk ape is a tall ape-like creature that is said to smell like rotten eggs or bananas, reside in the forests and swamps. And it says state didn't do enough. Was David Barnes' testimony abrupt end? Abrupt end. And yeah, because the clip today, there wasn't really much after the clip that we showed before. And they're going to be doing the closings on Monday. That's as far as I know with that particular clip that I showed y'all. That was the only thing in there that was relevant. You want to watch the Poltergeist again? Yeah, that was a... Yeah, I remember watching that many years ago. I do not know about that 666. Sounds interesting. I will certainly look into that. All right. Interactions based on legends. The Clinton Road Ghost Boy in New Jersey. A legend suggests a boy's ghost haunts a bridge in Clinton Road who return any money thrown over the bridge. Night Marchers in Hawaii. Ancient warriors said to march between worlds. Looking at them will delete you. And sound of drums is a warning to leave. Zeus said, I just got your order of 15 quadrillion extra fluffy super large towels. I put them in storage room 12-E328. Oh, thank you, Zero, for those. I'm glad they finally came in. All right. And I will have the... Oh, I will have the towel aliens distribute them throughout the spaceship. All right, Curse James Dean's car. The Curse actor The car of the actor James Dean was Leah died and said to be cursed, causing harm to many who came in contact with its parts after his deletion death. Corner game. An online ritual said summon a supernatural entity. All right, and we're going to go this legend right here. Quadriclian, huge difference. Oh, Zero, thank you for telling me the difference. Yeah, thank you. Elaborate the origin of the Wendigo legend. Let's see, this one, La Lenora. Let's see what that one is. I remember that one's from South America. There appears to be no well-known urban... Okay. La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. This is the most probable legend reference. It is the widely known Latin American myth of a woman who drowns her kids in a fit of jealousy, rage, and is condemned to eternity to wander near bodies of water, weeping and searching for them. One of my friends who had a grandmother from Mexico said that they would see a woman dressed like that by the lake and then not go by her. Scared. I love Crown Apple. I bought a huge bottle of Crown Royal Apple in my freezer. I have 3 bottles of stuff and then Jameson, Orange Jim Beam, Orange Now Crown, and Royal Apple. Ah, interesting. Apple would be good for the season, because the spooky season. And I want to see the origins of this one. The most widely told version of the story centers on a woman often named Maria who falls in love with a wealthy vaquero cowboy or a man of higher social class. They marry and have children, but he eventually abandons her to marry a woman of his own status. In a fit of jealousy, rage of despair, Maria drowns their children in a river immediately filled with regret. She drowns herself as punishment of the heinous act, and she is condemned to wander the earth, often seen in the river or lake, perpetually weeping and searching for her lost children. Her cries, which are said to be a bad omen and are often used by parents who scar children into behaving or staying away from dangers in waterways. Origins and historical context. While the tale is most famously from Mexico, its roots are a blend of indigenous mythology and European folklore. Pre-Hispanic roots. Salem is hopping already. Oh, Salem's hopping already. Yeah, that's another one. Some scholars trace Lorena's origins to the Aztec goddess. Aztec goddesses. We're not going to pronounce this right, but we're going to try. Hayucoatl. The Snake Woman was an Aztec deity who would appear at night weeping for her children to warn of impending doom. I don't do apple cider, but straight is great. Nice. The Kant Liku. The goddess had associations with motherhood and sometimes depicted as a monster who devoured the filth or sin. The colonial era interpretations. After Spanish conquest, the legend took new layers of meaning. La Malinichi. Some versions of the story conflate La Llorona with La Malinche, the indigenous woman who served as an interpreter and mistress of Hernan Cortez. These accounts, Malinche kills her children born to Contreras after he betrays her, symbolizing the betrayal of indigenous people in the Spanish. And mix apple crown with apple juice and soda water, and you have the fuzzy apple. Oh, nice. European influence. The tale also bears resemblance to the European folklore, including the story of Medea from Greek mythology, who deletes her children in punishment of her husband. Christine, Boston is solely a vibe, different vibe than NYC. Ask G if she comes in here. She lives in NYC, and she has been here, loves Boston. So does Nomad and Capri. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Variations in symbolism. Varying appearances. While commonly depicted in white gown with long dark hair, other accounts describe her as being veiled or having monstrous features. Symbol of social change. Modern interpretations, particularly within Chicana feminism, have reclaimed La Lenora as a symbol of female struggle and resistance against male domination and trauma of colonialism. Warnings and morality. The specific cautionary lessons of the tale can also change general misbehavior. Parents often warn children they don't behave like La Lenora may try to steal them, avoiding danger. Others use the tale to warn children away from playing near rivers and lakes at night. Social lessons. In some contexts, she used to warn against having relationships outside one's social class. Local versions in the legend has variations throughout Latin America. Yucador. Locals refer to her as La Lenora, trying her local rivers or mountain ranges. Venezuela. The version is sometimes tied to murder of children during the colonial period. Southern Mexico. Here she is sometimes a harboring of natural disasters, with the wailing signaling a coming flood. Kind of, but the terms after you freezing, after you, oh wait, kind of, but in terms are of after a few you fixing to be fuzzy. And cinnamon and caramel whipped cream topping for a pie. Very good. Very good. Christine says, mass different vibe is interesting. It sounds like a slow pace, but better than FLA. But it's okay. Wait, Karen R wasn't slow paced. Scared. There's a lot of history here. Mayflower with pilgrims is up the street from me. Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. We're talk about the Salem witch burning. Let's go here. Snacks and food all over the place. Bowl caramels, Long Island iced tea, and tropical punch, and Captain Morgan. I like Captain Morgan. Plymouth County isn't. It's blue collar. Nice. Nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you, 666 for that information. All right. A common but witches at the stake. And let's just see the Salem legend explained. The Salem witch trials were a period of mass hysteria in colonial Massachusetts in 1692 to 1633 that led the wrongful accusation, prosecution, and execution of numerous innocent people. This crisis was not caused by actual witchcraft, but rather a combination of factors including religious extremism, local rivals, and poor legal practices. The common misconception that witches were burned at the stake. Salem is false. Executions were by hanging. All right, Joyce, good night to you. It was very fun with you tonight. Take care. Good night. Thank you. The witch trials began in Salem Village in 1692 when a group of young girls, including the minister's daughter, Betty Paris, and her cousin, Abigail Williams, began to have fits and exhibit strange behavior. A local doctor, unable to find a physical cause, include that girls were bewitched. Under pressure from adults, the girls eventually accused 3 women of witchcraft. Tituba, a West Indian enslaved person, Sarah Good, a homeless woman, and Sarah Osborne, an elderly, impoverished woman. Tituba, likely under duress, confessed to witchcraft and described conspiracy other witches, which quickly escalated the number of accusations. The wave of accusations spread rapidly, driven by girls' supposed affliction and terror they instilled. Let's go up here. Several underlying tensions in the Puritan community created the perfect storm for hysteria in the root. Political instability. Colonial Massachusetts was undergoing a period of political turmoil. The colony's character had been revoked, and a new government was still forming, leading to a weak, chaotic legal system. Family feuds and local tensions. A major feud between affluent Putnam and Porter families of Salem contributed significantly. The Putnams supported the trials, while the Porters and their allies were often targeted. This mirrored a broader conflict between the wealthy residents of Salem town and poorer and more rural inhabitants of Salem village. Religious extremism. Puritan religious beliefs fueled an intense fear of the fear of the devil and his influence. They believed that the supernatural forces affected physical world. So any misfortune from bad crops to personal illness could be attributed to witchcraft. Let's see. Let's see. Right there. Okay. Wars in Native Americans. The tension from King William's War, which displaced many refugees, further heightened the community's fear and paranoia of outsiders. Spectral evidence. The court of Oyer and Terminer established Alien, that's the thing. Okay. Thank you. The people tried to make remedies because they were sick and were labeled as witches and deleted killed. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's why they accused him of making potions and stuff. For instance, the alchemy, for instance, was something they were. Alchemy was something that was discussed, in the past, and it was a form of chemistry, and that's where like wizards and stuff come from. And then they're trying to make another thing where remedies and different types of, herbs and things like that. But they thought that it was something else, that it was witchcraft. Now, I don't know, it's either my great-great-grandmother probably was America and was in America, wasn't in Europe. She was kind of like that. She would make remedies and stuff. And she was kind of considered like a witch doctor, but she wasn't. She was just like into remedies and things like that. A couple hundred years ago. Well, it wasn't a couple hundred years ago, but it wasn't that long ago, but like, I think 100 years ago. Something like that. So, yeah, it's just people like misunderstood it, and that's why it's good to have a situation people understand what's going on, and it's not something of witchcraft, but it was just something you're trying to get remedies and things. They were hung at Proctor's Ledge in Old Salem Village, was at the heart of Salem witch trials in Danvers, Massachusetts. Alien spot on, and they were deleted killed under false accusations. Yeah, that's where the term witch hunt comes from. Yeah. And not there every day, but Karen, it was a safe space, vent, and put that way. Spectre evidence. The court of Oyer and Terminer established to hear that the cases allowed spectral evidence testimony from afflicted about seeing the accused spirit tormenting them in the vision or dream. This subjective and unverifiable evidence led to wrong convictions. Executions. Ultimately, 19 people were hanged and one man Glees Corey was pressed to death for refusing to plead guilty or innocent. Several others were died in jail. End of trials. By late 1692, skepticism of trials began and grow as more respected members of the community were accused. In 1697, Massachusetts General Court declared a day of fasting repentance for the tragedy. Legal changes, extortion, use of spectral evidence, and was deemed unlawful, and last conviction for witchcraft in Massachusetts was pardoned in 22. What were the long-term consequences of the trials and social and political landscapes? The Salem witchcraft trials left a lasting impact in Massachusetts, leading to significant legal reform, a decline of theocratic authority, and societal shift toward reason and skepticism. The trials became cautionary tale that influenced the development of American legal principles and individual rights. Legal and political consequences. In the end of theocracy, the trials significantly undermined the authority of Puritan clergy and government they influenced. The sight of ministers and magistrates sending innocent people to their deletion death over flimsy evidence shattered public trust. According to historian George Lincoln Burr, the witchcraft tragedy was the rock in which theocracy shattered. Legal reforms. In immediate aftermath, colonial leaders took steps to prevent such illegal miscarriage from ever happening again. In 1697, Massachusetts General Court declared a day of fasting and repentance, as we said. The presumption of innocence. The trials exposed the dangers of assuming guilty based on unsupported accusations. While the principle of innocence until proven guilty was rooted in English common law, trials highlighted its absence and underscored its importance for a fair legal system. This served as a reminder to future lawmakers the need for protected rights, including the right to legal representation and cross-examination. Yeah, social media definitely amplifies that, and most things in general, I think social media can certainly highlight and make more pronounced than something that usually would be. Right. Yeah, now I think that this trial certainly was showing. I mean, this event that occurred in history, that's why the American legal system was adjusted. It was the mistakes, the mistakes of the old way of thinking, and then they created this better system where we could have a fair trial for people. Ah, okay, careful. Yeah. Apologies and restitution. Atonement for the trials spanned over 3 centuries. In 1711, Massachusetts General Court legally exonerated many of the victims and granted financial compensation to their families. It wasn't until 2002 that the last of the wrongly accused were formally cleared. Social cultural consequences, rise of the Enlightenment, the irrational mass hysteria of the trials stood in stark with contrast to burgeoning age of enlightenment, which emphasized reason and individualism. The trials demonstrated that the catastrophic consequences of blind adherence to religious dogma, superstition pushing Massachusetts towards a more rational and empirical way of thinking. Wasn't Tyler involved with a trans or something with furries? Allegedly, he looked at furries 666, and he also allegedly was with a person that was a trans person, it seems. Oh, okay, Careful. Thanks for about the used to have connections, but not anymore. Okay. Social consequences, rise in enlightenment. The irrational mass hysteria of the trials stood in stark contrast in the burgeoning age of enlightenment, which emphasized reason and individualism, and the trials demonstrated that the catastrophic consequences of blind adherence to religious dogma and superstition, pushing Massachusetts toward a more rational, empirical way of thinking. I read that. Okay. Cultural identity shift. The trials marked a turning point in New England culture from a devout Puritan identity to more commercial and secular Yankee identity. Clergy credibility was irreparably damaged, and their influence over daily life waned. Oh yeah, I know, right, Garable? Right, yeah, definitely. Warning against extremism. The Salem trials have been immortalized as a cautionary tale about the dangers of group thinking. Intolerable and mass hysteria, it has been referenced throughout American history as warning against unfounded accusations and prejudice. Most famously in Arthur Miller's 1953 play Crucible, an allegory of McCarthy Red Scare era. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that, Carol. Thank you for the information about those two. Well, there is no direct explicit link between Salem witch trials and the Bill of Rights. The trials served as a powerful negative example of what happens when due process and individual freedoms are ignored. Legal scholars and historians argue that the lessons learned from Salem indirectly influenced the founding fathers' mindset almost a century later when they drafted the Bill of Rights. Absence of rights in Salem, and the injustice of Salem trials highlighted the need for very projections that would later be enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Accused witches were semantically denied fundamental legal safeguards that were supposed to be granted under the English common law at the time. Abuse of power. Accusations often came from those with local grudges or personal motives. There were no mechanisms to prevent the abuse of power by courts and authorities driven by panic. Spectral evidence. The courts allowed testimony that an accused person's spirit had appeared to torment their victim, and unverifiable bias from the evidence that led to wrongful convictions. Lack of legal representation. The accused were not provided with legal counsel, leaving them to defend themselves against emotional testimony and community hysteria. Forced confessions. Confessions were often extracted under psychological duress, with many confessing to witchcraft only to avoid execution. All right, so yeah, you certainly could see with this situation of the mass, we would call collective thinking, a herd mindset that these people had in this time. And when they had this herd mindset, it caused them more destruction and destroying of their own civilization. It certainly was cringe. Indeed. Fluence in the Bill of Rights. The framers of the Constitution, particularly the Anti-Federalists, who pushed a bill for rights implicity, drew open these negative colonial experiences to argue for the explicitly pro-technicians against the government overreach. Several amendments in the Bill of Rights can be seen as a direct reputation of what transpired in Salem and other similar colonial abuses. Fifth Amendment guarantees the right to due process of law protection from self-incrimination, forbidding forced confessions like those used in Salem. Sixth Amendment ensures the right to speedy and public trial, the right to confront one's accusers, banning spectral evidence, and the right to legal counsel. Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, a general safeguard against the kind of extreme and arbitrary penalties seen in a colonial era. Historians recognize that the trials created powerful cautionary tale that shaped American legal throughout the generations. Events served as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and religious intolerance and the failure to reason judgment. While farmers also drew upon early documentation like Magna Carta and English Bill of Rights, the abuses at Salem were recent, devastating examples how colonial justice could fail, strengthening the resolve to confine individual liberties into law. Okay, so that is the information on Salem. Okay. And Right, got a couple of other ones. This is from the southern part of the United States. Folklore in the American South is rich with tales of spectral figures and echoing the Salem trials. Similar. Okay, see, we have the witch of Yazoo City in Mississippi. In this tale, a strange old woman lived in Yazoo River in the 1800s and was accused of witchcraft. A local legend claims that after her deletion death, a fire broke out that destroyed Yazoo City and that her restless spirit was responsible. Some versions connect her to a curse on the local cemetery gates. Mary Engelman, the first witch of Winsboro. About a century after the Salem trials, Mary Engelman was illegally tried for witchcraft after local crops failed and livestock fell ill. According to the legend, she was tortured by townsfolk who reportedly tied her to the tree and burned the soles of her feet. Despite surviving, she was later unjustly sentenced. Her spirit is now said to haunt the Winsboro courthouse, seeking revenge for the unjust trial. The Witch of Hines Road. The North Alabama tale tells of a witch who's conjured a hellhound patrols, hides in the road. Legends, themes of paranoia and punishment echoed unjust suspicion that drove the Salem trials. The Axemen of New Orleans between 1918 and 1919. An unknown deleter killer terrorized New Orleans, breaking into homes and killing victims, mostly Italian grocers, with an axe. The leader killer was never identified, and the strange twist famously wrote a letter to the press threatening more violence, but promising to spare anyone who was playing jazz music on a specific night. Like Salem, the deletion killings created mass hysteria, and legend reflects both on xenophobia and the city's dark history. So I remember they were talking about this axe person, and yeah, they never caught him. It happened over 100 years ago. And back then, they didn't have cameras and different things like that, so they weren't able to see the truth about what was going on like they can nowadays. Even although now there's probably things that are unsolved, still back then it was even more difficult. The murder of Mary Charlotte Young, Texas, a folk song tradition often passed down in the South, tells of Mary Charlotte Young, whose imaginative lyrics often featured murder and struggles. This tradition, though not a specific legend, often centers on real life crimes and injustice, much like the folklore that grew out of Salem witch trials. The La Laurie Mansion. That one's a creepy. That one's a creepy one. So, this tale is based on the true historical crimes of Delphine society, whose 1830s was found to have brutally tortured, murdered, enslaved people in the French Quarter home, and a house considered one of America's most haunted locations. And the legend, suffering spirits within Seville's haunting reminder of slavery's dark history and brutal in the era. So yeah, she had some slaves in the attic, and she was like a serial deleter killer, and she was chased out of the city, went back to Europe, wasn't seen again. Hauntings of the Mercer Williams house, Savannah, Georgia. This house is the setting of the true comic book Midnight Garden. Famous haunted locations in the house of violence and deletion death, including widely publicized 1981. Murder feeds Southern Gothic tradition, linking real life crime to society decay with lingering supernatural dread. Ghost of Zoe. Carson in South Carolina. At the restaurant in Pogan's Porch, a ghost named Zoe is said to push startled guests, tale based on a story with a real woman, Zoe Saint Armand, who was Leah died in the house in 1954. Story illustrates how personal tragedy like that of Zoe can become part of the community's ghostly lore. See theories of the Axeman's identity. Axeman murders. Let's see. In World War One, the murders took place against the backdrop of several events hidden in the city's paranoia. In World War One, the Spanish flu. So the First World War had just ended, and the deadly Spanish flu pandemic was rampant, creating a pervasive sense of fear and deletion death. A vulnerable community, the Axemen primarily targeted Italian immigrants, many of whom were grocers, a trade that was dominated by this group in the city. This made the murder a case of targeted violence against specific ethnic groups. Xenophobia. At the time, Italian immigrants faced significant prejudice, often being unfairly viewed as criminals in a dominant Anglo-Saxon population. The murders of the Italian grocers played into these existing racist stereotypes. Now, in this city, it was like it's a Catholic city, so I don't know if there's like Anglo-Saxon population, really, but it was just for some reason they didn't like the Italians coming here from. It wasn't because of their religion; it had to be for some other reasons, maybe like disputes between different countries. There's many different Catholic countries, but no, it was a Catholic city, so it had to be some other reason. Media sensationalism. The local press, especially in the Picayune, sensationalized the murders, feeding into the public hysteria. This culminated the publication of the Axeman's notorious letters in March 1919, which promised to spare anyone playing jazz music that night. This strange ultimatum led to the citywide jazz night where clubs and homes blared music to appease the deletion killer. Interesting. Axeman's methods. Signature crimes. The Axeman's typical modus operandi was to break into homes, often by removing a panel from the rear door and attacking sleep victims with an axe they found on the premises. No robbery. The crimes were motivated by theft homes and were often ransacked to make it appear as robbery, but nothing of the value was taken. I wonder if there were multiple ones, if there were multiple people that were behind this, or if it was just one person. It would be interesting to know. You know, it's possible it could have been. Now, Italians, you know the stereotypes of the mafia. I don't. It could have been another Italian person doing it, and it could have just been a hit from something like that. And lo and behold, the mafia-related violence. I without even looking at this, I told you all that by my educated guess, and the next line has to do with what I just said, because that's what it could be, like the Anglo-Saxon people. I mean, that's like much farther up north. This area was from Spain and France. Although there's all kinds of different ethnicities in the city, it wouldn't be, that situation. Italian grocers as targets. The primary motive suggested by these theories is that the attacks were from extortion. Entirely iteration of the mafia were known to shake down Italian grocers for protection and money. Yeah, that's what I think it's more likely. That's why I didn't really find who it was, because it was part of that clique. And they could have been buying out people and influencing the city a certain way. And because they've, Al Capone, Chicago, stuff like that. Or in South America, Pablo Escobar. And he bought the Colombia pretty much. And he was imprisoned in his own prison, which was like a... Hello, Hellcat. Great to see you. Welcome. I've seen you recently, but it's been about a minute. I hope that you're doing well. I thank you for being here. Earlier, we reacted to the trial that was on earlier, and she really roasted that attorney. It was and the family deletion, the family murder that we're talking about. Yeah. Now going over some urban legends. So thank you for telling me hello. Yeah, so that's what I think. And you see these different gangs and stuff, they'll do stuff like this. They'll buy out a place and make it the way they... Oh. You're very welcome, Hellcat. They want to make it their way, like they have either silver or a bullet. That's what they will give an options on. So you have this... So that, in my opinion, it's more likely something from the mafia or, gang-related violence in the Italian community. Because back then, the gang violence was from the Italians. I'm part Italian, so I could say this. And people might be like, oh, it's racist, but no. I am part Italian, so I could say it. If people want to throw it out there. So, yeah, definitely there is gang violence in the Italian community. Definitely. And it could have just been them fighting each other. Vigilante justice. Some also believe that deletion killings were part of a larger, long-standing vendetta within the Sicilian community, an idea supported by events like the latter murder of Mike Pepitone. I probably said that wrong. Which appears to have been part of such a vendetta. Yeah, so... Yeah, Sicily's where a lot of them come from, too. There's all kinds of different parts of Italy, and Sicily's, of course you all would know, it's an island off the coast of the mainland. And, I believe The Godfather and stuff takes place there, that movie, and in book, too. I remember, for some reason, my family didn't want me to... They thought the book was too violent for me to read in school, so... I didn't read the book, but I've seen parts of the movie. It was like when I got older. And kind of would do more research about that as I got older about what that was exactly. Because they were going to read it, and then my family was like, nah. And it was too violent. So we had to read the other books that weren't as violent. Scared. Evidence and counter agreements. While many victims were Italian, the Axemen also attacked a few non-Italian victims, which complicates this theory. Additionally, Axeman's bizarre, taunting letter to Jazz ultimatum is not aligned with typical discrete methods of mob-related violence. But, nothing. Sometimes two things can be true, like what Moki was saying, is that in a case, two things can be true, and I will also add that maybe it can't be black and white. There could be different reasons why the person did it, or why they put these hits on these people. But of course, patterns of response is something to be interesting to look into. It doesn't necessarily mean that it had to do with. It didn't have to do with it. I do think it likely had something to do with that, or somebody had something against somebody. It could have been a personal dispute. It could have been a group of people. But yeah, that's more likely than the other theory they were throwing out there. It was just probably something within the community, or it was just some crazy serial deleter like Brian Koberger. It was a person like that, maybe. These types of people always existed, unfortunately. And if they could ever do something to figure out in their brains what causes these things, it would be good to prevent this stuff from happening, if possible. Joseph Mumfree. Joseph Mumfree connection. One key suspect in Joseph Mumfree, a man who was murdered in Los Angeles in 1921. That wouldn't make any sense. And by the way, it's disputable about California's situation. People could dispute about why it is the way it is, but Los Angeles in the 1920s must have been very different than it is now, because there's lots of inflation problems over there and homelessness. Of course, it's disputable what the reason for that is, but that is true that Los Angeles, back in the past, had to be very different than it was now, because I've seen videos of it from the 50s and it looked pretty cool. But everything back in the past was better. I mean, regardless of politics, not even talking about that, and whatever the truth is, I want to know. I think that people used to go to a movie for a couple of cents. Now it's like $20 plus, and I guess in 10 years it's going to be $50. It's going to be ridiculous. So yeah, inflation really sucks for everybody. So anything that can be done to bring that down, which I have not seen it be brought down, but I want to see it be brought down, that would be great. And many people have agreed with that on both sides on the political spectrum, and maybe it's a long process. Maybe it takes a while for it to be done. But certainly that would be something good to see. But in murder in Los Angeles in 1921, this person, Joseph Mumfree, was murdered that year, and he was deleted, killed by a widow of Mike Pep Etone, one of the Axeman's alleged victims, who believed he was responsible for her husband's deletion death. Mumfree's motives. Mumfree was allegedly the leader of a gang and targeted Italian residents and had a history of blackmail and violence. Lack of evidence. While compelling, investigators at the time found no substantial evidence linking Mumfree to the attacks, and many modern experts remain unconvinced. Lone distributed deletion killer. Psychological profile. Given the inconsistent methods and victim profiles, some believe that the crimes were committed by a single psychological disturbed individual. The deletion killer's actions, particularly in Jazz Letter, suggested a desire for notoriety and psychological manipulation rather than a clear criminal motive. Billy the Axeman connection. The press linked New Orleans deletion killings to other unsolved Axeman murders across American Midwest, suggesting a single roaming deletion killer. However, this connection has been largely debunked during a lack of evidence. Now, the Great Depression was something that wasn't too good. This is a kind of time period. The Great Depression happened in the 30s. Well, 10 years from that time period, it would be the Great Depression. I was learning recently they had these villages where people just lived in these shacks they made, and very disturbing. And it's also quite fascinating to see 100 years ago how people lived and did things, as 100 years from now people will be seeing how we did things. And in 2125, that'll be the year 2125, and back in the past it was 1925. So time can really fly by. And I think these types of things are quite interesting to study. I will say, if they had more technology like we do now, with the cameras and all that different things like that, maybe they would have been able to catch him sooner, whoever this was. Inconsistencies. The different methods of gas between attacks have also led some to suggest that the crimes were committed by more than one person. Some crimes may have been burglaries gone wrong or personal vendettas, with opportunistic deletion killers leveraging Axemen reputation cover the tracks. Okay, going on here. All right, so that is about the Axemen story. Something else we talk about here, some of the paintings, and they're quite peaceful. So, A Sunday on the La Grande is by George Seurat. The monumental work in the Pointillism depicts Parisian leisure's life of the island of Seine River. What you'll see, what you see, the scene is filled with about 40 figures from different social classes, carefully arranged in this serene, almost frozen pose as they enjoy the park. Seurat used his revolutionary technique of painting thousands of tiny, distinct dots of color that typically blend the viewer's eye to create luminous forms of colors. And the peaceful elements, the quite still atmosphere of the harmonious composition evokes a sense of timeless calm. The figures are mostly detached from another, reflecting the social isolation of modern urban life. Yet their stillness creates a serene, almost spiritual feeling. All right, let's see what this painting looks like. Right here. Yeah, this reminds me of when I was in school. Yeah, they definitely did one like this. We reviewed one like this. That did happen. All right. Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth, the iconic work of the American realism, depicts the woman lying in vast towny field gazing at distant farmhouse. But you'll see the painting shows Anna Christina Olsen, a neighbor of the artist who had degenerative muscle disorder that limited her ability to walk. Wyeth is inspired by her determination and her refusal to use wheelchair, which led to her crawl around her farm. The scene is rendered with sharp detail. The individual blades of grass in weathered farmhouse. Peaceful element. While the image appears lonely and full of struggle, Wyeth intended to portray Christina's extraordinary conquest, the spiritual resilience, and despite her physical limitations, her world is shown to be spiritually vast and beautiful. The painting's quiet determination, sense of depersonal space can be profoundly calming. Wealth has noted Christina's love for the painting because it transported her to her favorite place. Not seen this one before. Yeah, that is a very cool scene. So you have this, and she's looking at the farmhouse. It's really cool. You have a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere like that. It's a nice ambient, vibe to it. Yeah, nice and peaceful. The Voyage of Life, Youth by 1842, Thomas Cole. A painting part of a four-pass series that allegorically represents the journey of a single human life. What you see, the canvas depicts a young, vibrant hero in a boat confidently guiding his way on a smooth river toward shimmering ethereal castle in the sky. A guardian angel waves from the shore, letting the youth take control. The lush green landscape, clear skies, and towering mountains symbolizing the boundless possibilities and romantic idealism of youth. Peaceful element. The serene setting, a smooth journey into the boat representing a time and life untouched by real struggle, conveying a feeling effortless pace and pure optimism. The painting tranquility is a stark contrast with the more exuberant stages of life depicted in the canvases of the series. That is really cool. That looks like a utopia. If these depictions that they did were very good, all those years ago, and it was still preserved to this day. Let's see. Mysteries. Fields of corn are recurring features of mysterious and horror, largely due to their ability to evoke the feelings of isolation, claustrophobia, and unknown. The sheer size and uniformity of a cornfield, where it is easy to get lost or feel watched, lend themselves many urban legends and unsolved true crime cases. Now the corn. Now this is one of my favorite topics. Is about corn. I'm very notorious for that. But with corn, in the cornfield, they like the sweet corn that you eat. A lot of people would eat. They grow very short, like under 5 feet usually, or at least where I am. But I did research, and they are shorter than the bigger corns that you see, and that's something you could eat right off the plant. But the other types of corn, like those big stalks, is another type that has to be put through a machine and used for feed and things like that. Now I do grow stalks of a different type of plant that it's a weed that grows on the side of the road kind of thing, but it was an indigenous, the Native Americans used it for as a crop. It was this big thing that grows. It's called giant ragweed. That is something that I have as my stalks, and they get really big. So I definitely can understand what they're talking about, getting lost or feeling watched. Yeah, definitely. they can do that. It's like I remember when I was like little and I grew the corn for the first time, and I was like, this is really short. I must have done something. Something must be with the weather, but I realized it was a different variation because it was very good corn. that's how I got into gardening in the first place. Is this farmer from nearly 20 years ago told me about how to do it, and it was more simplistic. Is it the way of growing things? That's how I got into gardening stuff. The mysterious disappearances and discovery of bodies in cornfields have been the subject of several well known cold cases, particularly in the rural Midwest. The Evansdale murder in Iowa. In July 2012, the young girls Lyric Cook Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins disappeared while on a bike ride in Evansdale, Iowa. Their bodies were found months later in a remote wooded area of a cornfield, but the deletion killer or killers have never been identified. Other Iowa cold cases. The iHeart podcast Secrets of the Cornfield, Iowa's Unsolved, covers multiple unsolved mysteries from the region, including murders and disappearances where cornfield often feature as the setting. Urban legends and folklore. Cornfields are home to many spooky urban legends, often featuring supernatural creatures or dark history. Legend of Amsel Farm described a farmer named John Amsel, who over a century ago is said to have murdered his farmhands and burned them in his cornfield. He later escaped the police custody and returned to the field, and his haunted legacy is said to persist. Tale of Pumpkinhead. This is the Sleepy Hollow one. The malevolent creature known as Pumpkinhead dwells in the cornfield and preys on people who entered the corn maze. It's said to have power, rearrange and maze, and lure victims deeper inside, and some being bitten and turn a person into a pumpkin. That's funny. It sounds like a kid's story. Haunted cornfields, a specters. Some urban legends describe ghosts of murder victims, spectral figures, unseen entities that haunt the fields. Feelings of being watched and hearing strange noises like footsteps and laughter, common themes. And a lot of times when you're in these places, your mind can play tricks on you. Are you like in the woods or anywhere like secluded like that? It'll feel kind of, your mind will play tricks on you. And when it snowed here, it was so quiet. I loved it, but it was really unreal. It really was. I heard some chimes, and I'm like, well, there's not supposed to be any chimes because there's no wind. But I go into that area, and there was a little bit of wind in that specific region. It was quite interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. Like I've like seen things that look like a animal or people that aren't really there, because that'll also happen. When you're in a cornfield like that, your mind will go into a hyper mode and trying to like figure out whether there's a threat or not. And that is something, of course, that will causes that. Corn demon. European folklore, particularly in German-speaking regions, has tales of grain roaster Gut Ride and Han, a rooster-shaped demon that waits in the cornfield to peck out the eyes of children. Well, that scared. Okay. So, by the way, in Germany they do not eat corn. They see it as like pig food. I had a German teacher. He didn't like. Unfortunately, he was murdered. Rest in peace. He was, we would call, in Germany, the corn is something pigs eat. It's not something people eat. But over here, it was different because that's what the indigenous people ate, and that's what the Native Americans, indigenous people ate, and that's what we also in America eat a lot. All right, and talking about, I gotta do this. Why is sweet corn shorter? Sweet corn is typically shorter in the field due to its genetics, its shorter growing season, and different breeding objectives, unlike field corn, which is in the bread industry used as animal feed. And sweet corn is bred to be consumed by humans. So field corn is like for animal feed and stuff. And sweet corn, it's shorter and has a shorter season. Short growing season. Sweet corn is harvested early when the kernels are still tender and juicy and peak of sweetness. This means the plant does not need to focus its energy growing tall, thick stalk. The plant's genetic focus is producing sweet ear in a shorter time frame. Longer season for field corn. Field corn, known as den corn, is left to mature and left dry out completely in the field, often taking several weeks longer than sweet corn. That's where those taller stalks are from, by the way. And to maximize sugar content and tenderness, and the breeding programs prioritize taste and juiciness over heightened durability. Field corn is vast majority of corn grown in the United States. Breeders focus on the traits of maximum yield per acre. This involves breeding for higher populations of corn plants per field, which require stronger, shorter stalks and leaves and ears poised to capture sunlight and moisture effectively. All right, so that's a little bit history about that. As we get into the spooky Halloween seasons, talk about those things. All right. Oh, that's right. I want to go there. Okay, so I'm just checking something here. Early evening paleopolymer reactions. Okay, that'll be it for tonight. We finished everything. Okay. All right, everybody. That will be all for tonight. We finished the topics that we were going to talk about. I enjoyed the reaction to the family murder trial. She did very well on the stand today, and the daughter. And I appreciate the commentary about the different topics and things that we talked about tonight. And it was very cool. So thank you all of you for being here, hanging out with me. Have a great weekend. We'll be live tomorrow too. And peace.